I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's something that happens, and then that it's peak. It's peak. So it's peak. It's peak.
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoy what I'm watching so far, and I'm definitely looking forward to an X-Men podcast video. I mean, hopefully, keeps that energy for the rest of the season. But I think it's going to be pretty good for the rest of the way through.
I mean, when you saw the first 3 episodes, it didn't drop. I mean, outside of season 2, episode 2 was pretty high because of what happened, but it was pretty what like.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like one of the big things for me, especially with X-Men, is like it's on. Everybody talks about it on Twitter, so it's like it's really hard to avoid that from time to time.
Oh, but no, this is
for the most part, I've been doing pretty well.
So it's one of the only shows. I think a couple of the episodes have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's one of the only shows that new fans love, and the old fans that saw the original ones. They both parties love it. It's kind of like Avatar. You remember when Avatar went on Netflix and all the people we loved Avatar, but like all the people that just saw Avatar because it was on Netflix, like, oh, this is also amazing. It's like that. Right. It's like that situation. So because usually you don't get that balance with shows where the OG fans love it, and the new fans also love it because usually they have to choose a different style. So
that's fair. There's definitely been a lot of superhero content, especially from the animated world. So why don't we go from Marvel and bring it to Amazon and we'll talk about Invincible. But before we get started, welcome back to another Reviews Corp podcast. I'm your good host, Red Devilos Reviews. I'm back here with my co-host, Unity Review and Analysis. What's up, Unity?
Hi, hello. Been a while. I mean, we just been here last week, so it's not too bad.
Oh yeah.
I mean, now it's just the time of the last month of university, so a lot of essays to write. How fun!
Yeah. Oh yeah. But before we get started on our topic, we have a guest. Now some of you from my channel know Mr. Shaq, Mr. Edward, from my old videos. Welcome.
Hello. Recently, Soham, we used to have a podcast during quarantine called the YB podcast, and Soham and me and Drew and Kareem, we used to be together, but we kind of broke up. We kind of started doing our thing. We're still very good friends. We still talk generally. So, we have a channel too, Trikage, where we react to like recent events, and like we've been doing a lot of music because there's been a lot of diss tracks, but that's not really important now because we're talking about Invincible. But yeah. So I guess for starters, like I got Invincible. I got to thank my friend Patrick because before Invincible season 1 came out, he told me about the comic I didn't know nothing about, and it just so happens to be probably one of the best animated cartoon superhero shows I've ever seen. It just like so. I gotta give a shout out to Patrick because he definitely told me I would not have known about Invincible was this good until my friend Patrick had told me.
Yeah,
I know you highly recommended it to us as well.
I did it because
you watched it first, and then we followed suit.
Yeah, because I did it because Patrick told me. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't like that knowledgeable. I didn't, what I'm saying. I didn't see the vision. I didn't see what it could become. So
yeah. So I watched it because I have a friend who was like I don't know. He's been really silent for a while, like for a year now. We used to talk together, and he's a huge fan of Invincible comic even before the show's trailer came out. And so when he saw it, was like, you have to watch this. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll watch it. So I just watched it because he really loves it. And it's mind-blowingly good.
And just before we get further into the discussion, just a quick reminder, we have another channel, another Reviews Corp podcast, where we archive these videos the day after these lives, so you'll find it on that channel. You'll find this discussion on that channel tomorrow, and you can also find our Spotify, another Reviews Corp podcast. All these links are in the description down below, and we will also have the link to the Trikage channel as well in the description down below. So thank you, and talk about Invincible. So we talked about how all of us got into the show Invincible. Lots of good origins from here. How was season 1 for you guys before we get into season 2?
Really good. I mean, the only element everyone agrees is bad. It's Amber.
Yeah. So, season 1. Well, I will say season 1 probably. The things I was watching was probably my second favorite because I was also watching The Boys and I like The Boys, but then The Boys got a little too wild. I was like, no. So, but yeah, season one was definitely peak. I think season 1 is definitely peak.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see how much of a cultural impact it had once season 1. I mean, just Omni-Man himself. I mean, you see him like right after they put him into Mortal Kombat, and all that. So there's definitely a lot of it definitely meant a lot to a lot of people. Season 1, I mean, like as you mentioned, The Boys, obviously, since both are from Amazon, both are kind of more of a realistic superhero world kind of thing, like what if superheroes were in the real world kind of sense. Though I'd say like Invincible likes to tap more into the, it does tackle like a lot of like the comic booky side here and there as well. And I think like Invincible, as you were also mentioning, I think it's more digestible compared to The Boys. And that's usually what I prefer.
Yeah, I said The Boys used to be really good, and then they started like being outrageous to be outrageous. That's another video, but like I don't know what they were doing in like was it season 3 when they introduced Soldier Boy? They were just doing stuff to do stuff, and it's like this is not interesting, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah, makes sense. Yeah, definitely. If you were to compare, so I know like for season 1 and 2, I would say season 1 is like it has a good mix of character moments and action, and not to mention like Omni-Man is just a really good villain for the season. I know for season 2 relies a little bit more on character work over the action, which for me I have no problem with that. I think a lot of the character work is really interesting and really good and well done, which will break that down. But I can definitely see that there is a bit of a difference in terms of like how they went about season 1 versus how they went about season 2. If anybody else feel that way.
So yeah, I do. Speaking of how it's like a season 1, episode 1, we get that whole thing. Everything is perfect, and it's the last scene, the last crucial scene where Omni-Man kills all the Viltrumites. I'm not the Viltrumites.
Guardians of the Globe.
Guardians of the Globe. I meant kills all the Guardians of the Globe, and that was like such an insane moment for like a 2-beer show. How would you feel about the beginning of this season with them introducing Angstrom Levy as like? I knew it was bad from the comics, but like as like some like humanitarian that's like from all these like universes that wants to like get all the knowledge in the universe to save the universe or something like that. How do you feel? Obviously, they were setting up for him to become like some evil mastermind, but how do you think? Because that's gonna be like because if you know anything about the comics, he's gonna be like basically a main villain for a long time. So
yeah. So one of the things I wanted to, so the hard thing is whenever I have a discussion with Unity is like there is like obviously so there's 144 issues. For Invincible, the entire storyline in the comics. So it's like right now they've used about 35, 36 of those comics right now. So there's still a lot of material left as to what's going to happen. And, Angstrom Levy is one aspect that will be important for future seasons. So that's something that I've been trying to not spoil for him, but like, while also like, talking in the sense of, the what we have so far in the material, which honestly, like after rereading all 36 issues, yeah, it's fairly comic accurate. Like pretty much everything you get line by line, action for action, like beat by beat is pretty much in the show. Some of it is like done earlier, some of them is done later, but like really everything you see is pretty much from book to screen, except for the whole Khal Rho, the Egyptian superhero thing that they're trying. We'll get to that because that's not in the original material from what I understand.
Yeah, they took a little chances. Unity, what do you think about Angstrom Levy at the beginning of the season? Did you Did you believe his like humanitarian, like I just want to do what's best for the universe? Did you believe that?
Yeah, I just think he has a lot of potential in the first episode when he's introduced. Like, there's something they can definitely do about it. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Personally,
yeah.
So as you mentioned, like it was kind of, it might be shocking for some people. You know, Invincible is working with Omni-Man. Why is that? Why is that happening? So yeah, it turns out we're in another universe where Invincible joins his father in taking over the planet. There's like a rebellion with only a few members of the Guardians left, working with Angstrom Levy, and evil Invincible pops up and he starts killing people. He paralyzes.
That's when he paralyzes Eve because he still loves her, but he doesn't want to kill her, but he want to make sure she can't do anything. That's so crazy. That was so because like that's because you know I love the Flash, right? So like when Wally West I think somebody killed like Impulse or something. I forgot. It was one of Impulse villains killed Impulse, and Wally West locked him as a statue. Like he stole his speed and locked him as a statue for eternity. Like that's worse than death. Like paralyzing somebody and having them watch their life go by when they can't do anything. That's worse than death, bro. Like,
it's honestly like. It felt like a darker turn from like, you know, how Omni-Man called Debbie his pet in season 1. So this kind of thing with evil Mark with paralyzing Adam Eve just to keep an eye on her, but not kill her is like, yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah,
you ready?
To be fair, when I first saw this thing, I was like, that's either a dream sequence or a parallel universe. It's like, it's quite obvious.
Oh yeah, and then but then like before Angstrom gets killed, he gets sent through a portal, and it turns out that there is like it turns out that he was saved by a different Angstrom, and yeah, so basically there's like a lot of universes out there. So obviously nowadays, like when people hear multiverse, time travel, stuff like that, it's been like a overdone concept. I will say that Invincible, now I already knew the material of Invincible before, so I knew about how there is time travel and multiverse stuff in this comic, and it doesn't work like MCU logic or anything like that, or like how other.
It doesn't work like MCU logic, or especially like was it Flashpoint? It doesn't work like because the new movie, I'm waiting for part 2, but Crisis on Infinite Earth was that it doesn't work like that either. Like this is like their own variation of like a they have their own explanation of like the multiverse here. Like
and these comics are like from 2003, so
it's
just something we've expected.
Because you were talking about the MCU. In MCU, they have like the whole like the singular timeline. And it like there are like breaks and branches that connect into different timelines where there's different variations. And then you have like the whole Flash or like the Flashpoint multiverse timeline thing where it's all these things like exist at the same time, but they vibrate at some things and they're all connected similarly through the speed force or something like that. But I think the Invincible was like, no, these are just different worlds completely. Like a lot of these worlds are just like. For instance, Angstrom Levy says before he turns evil, he said like, Mark, this is the only world. There's like one of the only worlds you didn't turn evil or something like that. Like what you would think would be like a common like thing, like in the thing, like they're trying to establish that like the differences like of this universe, like of the multiverses. Because like there's also another universe where there was smart. You remember the smart dinosaurs? Like that's later on in the season, but the smart dinosaurs or something like that. So. That has nothing to do with like. There's not like an invincible dinosaur. That has nothing to do with the. I guess you would say source material, but it's just a universe where the dinosaurs are smart and they ate the humans. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Then also like another thing he says later is like 40% of your variants like revealed their identity as Mark Grayson, but it's like not everybody. But that's still like how he was able to conclude that this universe Mark Grayson is also invincible as well. So it's like some of your variations were careless, but like it happens. So does that mean there's a finite amount of universes from the comic? So I guess like from what I understand, they do have like a number as to how many universes are there, but like they're not obviously going to cap it off. I mean, like Angstrom is like the one character that has like this power that can dimension hop, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of I can't
without
really
exposing
specify a number, but yeah.
Without exposing if there is a number, we don't know because there's a shit ton. Because there's
Yeah.
There's just
I don't want to spoil
stuff
something. If you read there's something that happens that's a multiversal type thing, and it's like there's a shit ton of universes. Let's just say that.
I remember there's a Spawn universe in the comics. It was like, okay, when did that happen?
They also kind of hinted at there's a universe where he's with Peter Parker, and they kind of hinted at it.
He also met Batman.
Yeah. Did you see the little thing where they had to like basically make a fake Peter Parker and a fake Doctor? I thought that was hilarious. But
yeah, Agent Spider. Yeah. They even got Josh Keaton, the voice actor of Spectacular Spider-Man, to do the voice. It was really funny. Yeah. But speaking of multiverses, we should probably go back to the multiverse that we know, the universe that we know. So this season is set 1 month after, Nolan departs. And, so basically, what I found interesting about this season is like, it's not showing just Mark's like way of like coping with what happened. It shows pretty much everybody's way of how they dealt with Omni-Man and how they respond to. So it kind of shows you different stages of grief through different people.
Yeah.
And that's something that I find really interesting about this season in particular.
Another thing I thought was extremely, because you were talking about the different stages of grief. I'm going to go on to that. Like kind of making you, which is kind of crazy, but because we know what Omni-Man did, but I think it's either episode 2 or 3 where he's like crying and he's wasting away in the galaxy, and the scene where he almost goes into the black hole.
Right.
It's kind of like you think he's this big villain that's killing people, but he really was doing a mission, but he really like lost his purpose because he thought his purpose was like his Viltrumite mission, right? He like basically like being a Saiyan. Like I always compare the Viltrumites to Saiyans. Like they go to planets that are weaker and they take him over for the freeze or whatever, right? But you see him, it's like even though he could do his mission, he can't do it. And he's like basically like in a crossroads where he doesn't really have like a purpose in his life, which I think is crazy because it's like Omni-Man his whole life, he's like a legendary fighter. It's all he's ever done. And it's like, I have nothing now. And I lost my family and I lost my title. And I'm just kind of just wasting away moving through the galaxy or something like that. So
yeah,
it's a nice character moment.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that when we get to episode 3. Episode 4. Start of episode 4.
The Omni-Man appears, episode 4.
End of 3, but the flashback is in episode 4, Yeah. So there's a few things that happen. I guess so Cecil puts Immortal in charge of the Guardians over Robot. And then they also add Bulletproof into their ranks. Bulletproof will be important in future seasons. They didn't really do much in this one. But
I don't even remember he's a character. I don't even remember he's in the show until you mention it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, Bulletproof will be later in future seasons.
So I'm going to tell you, Unity, it's like a mini hint such thing. A lot of the side characters in Invincible become a lot more important. Like they do some of the best with their side. They can become a lot more important when seasons go on. That's why Invincible is one of the greatest comics I've ever think of all time. Like you think you don't care about Bulletproof or Robot or whatever, but it's gonna come back to where these people are important as hell. So.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like every side character has like some narrative importance that makes them memorable. it might not be now. It might be a few seasons later, but like they will definitely be important at some point. So I think that's just something. I think that's like one way to look at it. So when you say most marks went evil, does that mean like out of the most he was able to record? So I think what it means is like the way that our mark that we regularly look at, he just doesn't have the like he's purely a superhero. He purely doesn't go to Omni-Man's side. He doesn't really, so he doesn't like betray his like his code basically, which I guess like for other versions of Invincible, he kind of like he does that for the most part. So yeah.
I think it's also a combination of the fact that he was raised for he was raised for a long time by Debbie, and he didn't even know that his dad was a superhero. So maybe because like for instance, like maybe that was a difference. Like maybe Mark always knew he was special, and it's like, oh, I'm better than these people. So maybe that's why. Or because you remember Debbie in season 1 when we also learned from the Adam Eve short flick that what's called Debbie said that Nolan would go like write books and go on like book tours or something. So Mark would just thought his dad was an author, so he didn't really know that his dad was like, you know what I'm saying, so special until a while ago. So
I guess if you wanted to briefly mention the Adam Eve, I wasn't able to find it. Like in terms of watching it,
I think it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's still on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
really?
I don't have Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah, neither do I. So I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I would say that I know like the comics do have like secret origins of blank and blank characters, so it's like I feel like it's a good way to have like content of, because you know they had one for Adam Eve, they had one for Rexplode, they had one for Dupli-Kate. Like I feel like they could do those like in between seasons, like while they're waiting for season 3 to come out, have another one. They have some material to work with, and yeah, I think that could be an interesting thing.
So the biggest thing from Adam Eve is basically showed up how she came about, kind of how fucked up her childhood was, and like they what is it? They mirrored it with how Mark's childhood was, because even though Adam Eve, basically Adam Eve for those is basically a test tube baby. And she had a lot of brothers and sisters that were also test tube babies, but they weren't as successful as she was. So they suffered and they hated her for it because she was like the one that she was like the good one, right? So she wanted to have a family, right? But they despised her because it's like, we're getting compared to you. And you're like whoever the scientist, doctor, whatever says like, oh, this is what we need, or we need more Adam Eve. That's basically how it ended up. And then she basically had to end up putting them out of their misery. It was very sad. It was very sad, right? So, and every so often in that little hour-long thing, you see her life compared to Mark, and Mark is just like a normal kid, and he dresses up and plays superhero. He plays like soccer, and it's like it's just showing like the differences of how they grew up. So. It's a really good thing, especially if you like Adam Eve as a character. It gives her more depth. So
yeah, I wish I could find it. But yeah,
same. That's true.
But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, you know, if they were to, because like they do have secret origins, like in the comics as well, like for other heroes in the Guardians of the Globe. So if they were to do this like between seasons, they have plenty of material to work with. Also, Robert Kirkman heavily works with the show. So
yeah, he works with the show, but we can't like. He also said that Omni-Man could beat Superman, so that does, like we know that's not true. So you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's not true.
That's such. Yeah. Yeah. So. So the Mauler twins, they escape prison because of Angstrom. Angstrom wants them to help bring like all the alternate universe memories, because everybody has like every version of Angstrom Levy has like something unique that to their universe that makes it, you know, something that would be important to learn that could help them. You know, some of them know the cure to cancer. Some of them know how to do this and that and this and that. So it's like
this is my only This is my only thing with this is one of the things where I don't think, because the whole Angstrom bringing the Maulers, I don't think this makes logical sense, because this Angstrom Levy has the power to go in each universe. He seems like he's a pretty intelligent guy. He notices all these marks are evil. And we know there's other Maulers because the other Maulers help build the machine. You didn't know that the other Maulers were like murderous backstabbers? Like you didn't think that was gonna like I'm not saying it's stupid, but like, are you that naive? Like,
to be honest,
the Maulers are genius, right? But it's like, it just doesn't make sense that you've seen all these marks turn evil. This mark is evil, this mark is evil, this mark is evil. You didn't look at the Mauler twins to see if any of them were good. At least get the good Mauler twins if they are any. So
and I think my thing about the comic version too is like because like all the Mauler twins are working in their sister dimensions, like working on their angstroms and like getting them all. They're all getting hooked up to this one angstrom, but the problem here is like, so I guess it's kind of tough. Like, you know, is there one version of Angstrom that can actually build the machine themselves and not rely on the Mauler twins? But I'm not sure for that aspect.
To be honest, for me, I would be like, oh fuck, I need to get if I have to use evil people to help me to do projects. So like, okay, so here are all the security measures I have to do. Like, okay, now let's get these superheroes to like put an eye on them and stuff. Like, here's some weapons, put some traps on them just in case. And to be honest, I don't think Angstrom has any precautions aside from blackmailing a lying. She's just like, hey, if you do this, I'll give you this. It's like,
because like one of the threats that the threat he says in the comic is like, I could just send you to another dimension and you will never be able to get out. And then that's pretty much their incentive to keep working with the Mauler twins. But then, so it makes sense because like he can make a portal at any point in that aspect. But like then obviously like when the machine hooked up part happens and like there's nothing, he can't really have the precaution to stop it. I'm not really sure. I mean, yeah, it is like, it is something like it could have been done better. I don't think it's like plot breaking per se, because obviously it does serve the narrative point that what Angstrom has to go through and all that stuff. But like, you know, I mean, there could have been smarter decisions, I guess, is another thing.
I'm just saying, personally, for me, I thought this Angstrom Levy guy is going to make some device that connects from universe to universe and drain the knowledge from all universe. And you couldn't think that the Maulers would backstab you or do whatever the fuck they want to do, because they do that in every universe and they do that to themselves. Like
it's kind of weird because I'm not really sure about it. I mean, for me, it's like I like the concept of Angstrom. It's like he has potential, but it's like that's it. I like his potential. I mean, I also like the voice actor who plays him. He sounds really good at it. But at the same time, it's like, so you've seen all the universe with Marcus Evil. I was like, it's like, wow, what are the odds of that? I was like, and how it's kind of weird because they try to explain. It was like, okay, you can portal anyone in any multiverse of the universes, but you can't portal in, like, okay, do a sling ring from the MCU, something like this. Imagine it's not using for multiverse or travel, whatever the
right.
It's so there. So therefore, he can open portals to the multiverse, and it's like, but you can still locate. It's like you can still teleport to any place of your multiverse, and the fact that it was like, wait, can you also teleport like through the past or the future? It's like, I think that this part is not clear. Can you just grab the marks? Grab the angstroms that are just in like way before the Invincible takes over and everything's like utopia or something, so they can actually grab like more OP technology. Like,
yeah, I know the comic has more of a restriction in terms of his portals. Like he can only go to the portals that he knows. Like he can only go through dimensions that he knows, and like he knows that location and he knows what that location in the same area is. So he can't like go through space and time basically. So he can only go through through that space, but it has to be the same space, whatever he knows. So that's why when he collects all the memories of all of the multiversal versions of him, that's how he's able to use like multiple dimensions, multiple thing. That's how his power sets work, at least from the comic sense. Whereas the show, it doesn't really go too heavy in that aspect. Outside of more like, oh, I know this is going to happen, so let me do it this way, and then So I mean, but that's kind of the other thing. Every version of Angstrom has its own unique properties as to what makes them special. So it's like if I put them all into one of me, that's kind of how he goes about it, at least for the show wise.
I mean, another thing is like, so most of the Armstrong just like witnesses like Invincible is evil, they try to kill him, something, right?
Yeah.
It's like you would expect a lot more conflict. It's like, oh fuck, can you bring it back to my entire universe so you can save that? You can save my universe or something. Because like every Armstrong is so chill about it. It's like, oh, it's like the only Armstrong that actually said something is the guy who has a multiversal powers.
Yeah, he does say that, to be fair, that he is the only one that has this dimensional power.
Yeah,
so that's kind of what he has power over them.
Yeah, but you expect them to just like be less, a lot less chill about. It's like, oh fuck, you just dragged me from another universe to this one. What dude? I want to save my own universe. I want to save my family. I was like, whoever I have left. It's like no one has a sense of can you please save that as soon as
possible? To be fair, this is like the way that the show introduces, like, this has been happening for a while. The fact that there are like 1,000+ Angstroms in there, so it's like he possibly had this conversation already, convinced all of them to join him. I mean, I would have to assume that based on how many people are there, how long things have done within this span of time. I can't really assume like this happened yesterday.
Also, you have to also think like, so for example, like the one Angstrom Levy, this is later on in the series, but we see an Angstrom Levy where he's running from Mark or something like that, and he has like a son or a dog, he has a child and a dog, and like that Mark kills his son and the dog. He's like, I'm gonna make you watch. And it's like, so that Angstrom doesn't really have like anything to live for, because it's like I had a son, I had a family, and like the Invincible took my family away. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there might also be like Angstrom levies that are like in worlds that are taken over by the Viltrumites, and it's like they're just like they're like refugees, so they need like an escape. Like I was a doctor in this universe, but now the Viltrumites take over, and I you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I get it, but it's like a lot of, I see a lot of potential just lost. It's like, oh, you can have a lot more conversation. Just like, okay, what does every Angstrom want? It's like, okay, it's like there's a lot of perspective they could do with it, and they're just like, oh, they're just chill with it. It's like, oh,
yeah. I will say the montage in episode 8 kind of like gives some idea as to, I mean, especially like what Shaq is mentioning in terms of some of the, like, especially when it came to, you were the one who, when Mark says like, you were the one who tried to save me, and like that makes him freak out, because like in all of his other versions of Angstrom would not do that. So when he has to think back, there's no way I possibly wanted him to live. This guy Mark killed like all of my loved ones and all this stuff. So it's like he is having an identity crisis in that moment. So I mean, it's more like you do see that, I guess, like in the sense of like how much the show can talk about from an introduction standpoint in episode 1. It's kind of hard to at least like narrow it down. But yeah.
To be honest, it's like you can dedicate the entire episode to just Angstrom, just like, oh, here's all the Angstroms, let's just do something with it, and then there's like, but it's like they have to get the plot moving. It's like, oh, that's one way to do it.
Well, to be fair, I think they were just, because I think they were kind of smart. They're just kind of introducing him, and it kind of explains why the ending, or like the this is not fair, because me and someone know the comics, so they're just trying to introduce him because he's gonna be in multiple seasons. He's gonna be a villain for a long time. So I think they're just trying to basically like sprinkle him in little places, like, oh, this guy can do this. Oh, this guy has a vendetta against Mark. You know what I'm saying? So just like And to be fair, one would argue like this villain, like because I think a big issue people said like compared to Omni-Man, Angstrom Levy in season 2 is not that good of a villain. Like that's why they only season 2 season 1 because he doesn't get that much like thing because he's barely like he's in like 3 episodes and there's like 8 episodes, right? So it's like, but I know that he's become way more important. They're going to be building to other things, so it's like I guess it's like not it's like an unfair thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, Unity. It sounds like we're strongmanning you, but like I guess it's just like in some cases, like I do agree that Omni-Man being the father of our protagonist makes it a lot easier to like see that dynamic, to see that betrayal, that that all those feelings and emotions that happen between him and Mark, and that's what makes season 1 so good. Season 2, one of the problems with Angstrom obviously is that he doesn't have a connection to like this version of Mark. He does, like, in the sense of like Mark of the multiverse and how other Marks treated him, but like this particular Mark, because he's a good guy, because he's a swell guy, he just doesn't have that connection with this version of Mark versus this version of Angstrom Levy. So it's kind of tough because since we're talking about the finale so much, he has beef with this person, but this person doesn't know who he is. So it's like that can sound disappointing, and I understand it from like a TV watcher perspective. Is like if I were watching Invincible for the first time, I have no idea of the source material or anything like that. Angstrom Levy is only in like he's really important in 2 episodes, and then they sprinkle him in like a little bit of episodes, like him talking to other versions of Mark, or like he's doing something else, planning something. But these are like literally just like setups to remind you that Angstrom is in the season, because really, in the comic, like his only appearance was just that, where his brain gets super huge, and then he just shows up at Debbie's house and is threatening her and the boy. So, but that's like your only 2 options when you first see him in that aspect. So it's like, so yeah, the comic does like, so the show is like kind of doing what the comic did, but from a TV perspective, it's like I guess you want to see more out of Angstrom, or in terms of like having him do something, having him like be more of a presence. But that's kind of my other thing too. Is like what I've also been explaining Shaq is like I don't think the show, like if you go from the comic, it's like I don't really know if the comic really goes like where, oh yeah, this will be the season arching villain. They're just kind of like they're villains that will come back later. Like Battle Beast will come back later. He was in season 1, not at all in season 2, which is fair. But these are villains that like they start off somewhere, but like they don't become important until down the line. But yeah, I don't know I don't really know how else to put it in that aspect.
Yeah, I get it. It's like it's kind of difficult to just adapt someone like this. But it's like, yeah, for me, it's like, oh, so this is the guy who's gonna make the biggest payoff of the entire season. He's not really very well developed. Like that's the thing.
And it's more like it's just I think all we can really say is just for now. Yeah.
But again, to Unity's point, he doesn't know he's because from the end of the episode, because spoilers, Unity, you've seen that episode, like we think he's dead. So for all we know, that villain was like lackadaisical. For all we know, right? For somebody that doesn't have like outside information, so I can understand Unity's issues with it. So
especially when you compare to Omni-Man, it's like Omni-Man is iconic now. So it's like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I like about our podcast here. It's like we kind of represent the 2 sides of it. It's like somebody that has like the adaptation stuff, and sometimes you just don't know, and like you're just coming in brand new, and you need to introduce it to everybody basically to make it a fair experience. So it's like, yeah, that's kind of what I like about our channel here, and how we kind of go about the podcast. But yeah, it brings up an interesting discussion in my opinion. But yeah,
I think so.
yeah,
I think a pivoting point, because we've been talking a big thing about Ancient Levy and Mark and Invincible. How what'd you think about? I think was it episode 3 where they get into like Debbie and like Mark and like Mark going off to college and stuff like that, and like Debbie being the law. Like, how'd you feel about the whole Mark in college thing? Like him finally like kind of becoming his own man, but like also like having to make it like all these teenage or like young adult superheroes always have this situation. Like we've seen this with Peter Parker in Homecoming. We saw this with like what is it? Who was it? So Peter Parker Homecoming. Other times with teenage superheroes, we kind of like. I know she sucks, but Kamala Khan, like where they have to make a decision between like college and like their superhero life. So,
yeah,
It's like I just kind of expect a lot more for. I mean, it's not really an issue for me. It's just like I kind of expect a lot more for the university's perspective. But it's like, oh, they just like, hey, after I go to university, I'm gonna fly away to another planet and skip university, and at the end they're like, the university ends. I'm gonna drop out from uni. It was like, oh, that was fast.
It's interesting. They don't really do that aspect because Adam Eve doesn't go to university for that similar reason, mainly because like she has the power to like make anything she wants. So it's like I don't know what the point is to go to university to learn how to be an engineer when I can just make it myself. And then like she goes to Africa and helps villages over there in the comics.
Personally, I think the whole college episode was like I think basically it was twofold. One was to show that him and Amber were never going to work out, because even though I actually like Amber this season, even though she's trying to work with him, it's like a superhero has to do superhero things to go save and build burning building. Like we saw this kind of like with Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man 2, like Sam Raimi with like Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, and like Mary Jane. Like you can't be everywhere at once, and you kind of have that dichotomy. And so like, I think you also saw it with like Mark. I think he went to college because his mother's dream was for him to go to college, like to be like a normal son or whatever. Right. And his dad's dream was for him to be a Viltrumite warrior, right? So he's basically like, what he figures out is like this college thing isn't for him, and like because his whole thing, and we know this from the last episode, was kind of thing where he's like, I'm not like, and Cecil has to tell him you're not like your dad. Right. Probably the whole like college not working out was like, damn, maybe I am more like Omni-Man. Maybe I am like Nolan. Like I tried to make it work, I really did, but it just couldn't work. Maybe because
that's why I really like this season in that aspect of like it really. Some of it seems like superficial stuff, like oh he's going to college or oh he's doing. But yeah, that's a very good point. Like it does like when he's really down in the dumps, especially after what happens after he kills Angstrom, quote unquote. He's pretty broken. Everything down to what his dad said, everything down to like how, he went about putting out his frustrations and anger and all that. He couldn't hold himself back and all this stuff. So it's like, yeah. And again, it's like, I feel like the season does a really good job with how much it tackles like, the stages of grief through the lens of a superhero. So it's like, I find that very interesting. My only thing about Amber in the sense is like I do like her a lot. It does feel like the amount of times they have like I gotta go save people, and then it's like sorry. It's like stop saying sorry for like for saving lives. It's like I feel like it felt like they did it more like a response to season 1, so it's like to course correct or something like that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just but they did it like maybe 2 or 3 times in a row. And it's like, okay, yeah, they really want to emphasize that, Amber does not suck, and all that stuff. So it's like,
to be fair, even I was like, I think you overcompensated a bit because, like, in season 1, she's a bit like more feisty. She's not just laid back, just like, I'll do whatever. Even before, like, she even before the Invincible reveal, she's like a tough girl who takes no bullies and stuff. And now she's just a lot more nice.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I get it. She's a lot more nice to Mark, but even to other people, it's like, oh, she's like, oh, hi, I'm Amber. How are you? It was like, yeah, I think you did a bit. I think you really did overcompensate a bit.
Yeah, it was just noticeable to me, but like,
to be fair, I think it's because the creator of the show, Kirkman, and the Amber actor, like she was getting hate for how much she was hated, bro. Like,
yeah, nobody deserves that.
They were like destroying her. I don't think she knew how much. Like it's kind of like the live action Azula actor, where you think you do a good job and the people hate you, and it's like,
yeah. Operation. I would say Immortal's neck in season 1 when Omni-Man chopped his head off. That was a bigger 180.
Yeah.
So yeah. But that was really my thing. It's like it was noticeable like how much they really had to emphasize. Oh yeah, stop asking me. Stop trying to get my permission to save lives and all this stuff. So yeah, I just found that funny.
It's like,
but yeah, but overall, I did not have a problem with Amber. I really, one of my favorite scenes in terms of like the human interactions was from episode 7, like especially after the whole
the Anissa thing. How
they dealt with that breakup after the Anissa thing. Yeah, but we'll get to that.
I'm not gonna lie. If we're gonna talk about Anissa, for you people that don't know what happened in the comics, it's coming and he's coming. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
That will be the tweets have started. There's
a reason. So y'all saw why people hate Amber. You guys are gonna. If you don't know comics, you're gonna see why people hate Anissa.
Oh yeah. I will say that I think the discourse online though is gonna be crazy. Mainly because like her design looks better than she does in the comic. So I think I think the commentary is going to be worse.
So what do you mean better? So like does that move you? Does that fuel?
I'm just saying like let's be realistic. And everybody knows how Twitter people think. So
yay.
What's up, Chosen?
Oh yeah, so that's one of the guys for the Discord. Yeah, it was good, Chosen. I'm out here. You know, help my man out with his little Invincible season review. I dropped the link to your video in my Discord just to give you a shout out.
We appreciate it. Welcome.
So
yeah. So we talked about the so Invincible's getting his ass kicked by the Mauler twins. Episode 1 has this gag. It was pretty funny where like where they kept doing like setups for he really is ... invincible, but like they don't do usually you expect the title drop card, and like all episode 1 they kept doing that, but the title drop doesn't happen until the end of the episode. I thought that was funny. Yeah, we enjoyed Invincible season 2. Probably enjoyed season 1 overall more.
Yeah,
like,
season 1. It's like because Omni-Man is just so good compared to like Omni-Man is easily the best character. Yeah. That's a thing.
Yeah, but I still really did like season 2.
Oh yeah, same.
What y'all think about episode 4?
Episode 4. I guess like
a lot of shit.
Because honestly, like one of my last things about episode 2 and 3, like a lot of it focuses on. So like we were also talking about like how Mark is dealing with post Omni-Man leaving. Debbie is like down in the dumps in terms of like everything, which obviously makes sense. She goes to a support group and all that, and she meets up with somebody who was the husband of Green Ghost. And they got pissed at her because she's like the wife of Omni-Man who killed his wife and all that stuff. And like obviously like everything with Debbie is just like so it's like obviously it's like what I liked about it was like how they go about these stages of grief. Debbie's obviously taking it much worse than Mark, which makes sense. and all that. Especially since like she was called a pet. They really emphasized that a few times. Like like when she's doing a house call with a family, and like the husband is like treating his wife like shit, and she's like, she's not your pet, and all that. So they really emphasize on all that stuff. Other stuff too.
Yeah. It's a lot of good character moments between like Omni-Man and Invincible. Invincible just like struggling between. He's just like the power different. Look, see him, he was weak and he just try to be good because Omni-Man still has an impact of him to just like, dude, you are way stronger than everyone below. He's trying to hold his anger from like unleashing on people, unleashing on other villains, and just like he has a no kill rule and stuff.
Yeah, we're definitely not disappointed with season 2. I do think season 1 is just better, but like I'm definitely not disappointed with season 2 at all. I still really love season 2.
I mean, season 1 is definitely better. It's like it's really just Omni-Man. It's just really good.
So we kind of did go around to different places. Another thing that happened in episode 2 was like Eve making a park for a place that was run down, and she was using her molecular power to like she's making the molecular power to to fix the building. Then she makes a park, but then later in the episode her dad reveals that like she built a park on top of like unstable ground, so that park collapsed and luckily nobody died. And that really puts Adam Eve into like a depressive state, especially with how they went about.
Yeah, that's true. It's it's a good thing because a lot of people just know that you can build a building on everywhere. It's like no, you have to test the ground first. It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
of course.
The sex scene got like that was episode 3, right? With Alan.
Yeah, Alan episode.
That made me a little. That made me a little uncomfortable because she.
Oh yeah, I was like, especially the character that's played by Seth Rogen.
Yeah. Seth Rogen is the voice actor is peak. Seth Rogen is a funny ass like that. Like Seth Rogen in Donkey Kong in the Mario movie was hilarious too.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was Donkey Kong for a second. Yeah, Invincible does get his ass beat every episode.
Yeah,
that is kind of the charm of Invincible is ironic at this point.
Yeah, to be fair, they did try to explain at the end. It's like, I'm just holding back the entire time, dipshits.
Yeah,
and you can really tell that because he's trying to surprise himself the entire season to just not be his dad.
Yeah, and then you had some TASM references too, like when Mark goes back to school, and then the bully hugs him, like when Flash did to Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And then like how Adam Eve, she's like messing with a villain to the point where it knocks the car into the river, and then she has to go and save that. Just like in TASM 1. Yeah, so you got some references like that. You also got the Martian who stowed away on Russ Livingston from season 1.
That was like so. I would say that was like a side thing, like the whole thing with the Sequids, and I thought it was like a thing. I didn't really care about that storyline, but the Sequids, like the hive mind shit, I didn't really care about that shit for real.
Yeah, I got more interested when they did the Lizard League stuff.
Yeah, it's like the hive mind shit was like, hey, here's 1 million of them. Let's attack them one by one at a time. It's like, no, bomb rush them.
Oh yeah, we also love Avatar and Arcane as well. It's definitely one of my favorite shows.
Would you guys think about in episode 4 when we learned that nigga Omni-Man? Or sorry, I said it. My fault. We learned about Omni-Man. we learned that Omni-Man had a kid with the grasshopper lady, and then also which is it's funny because I thought Viltrumites were only supposed to have like children with like Viltrumite-esque or like human like beings, but he decided to fuck a grasshopper. Insane. And then what do you feel? How do you feel about Mark finally letting go? I think in episode 4 when he has to fight the other Viltrumites that are trying to kill him, and like he's learning from his dad that in order for you to be a Viltrumite, you have to like be ruthless, and it's like.
Yes, don't act, think after think, Mark, think.
I mean, I love the interaction between Mark and Nolan. But like they're like Mark still hates him, but deep down he still likes his dad, and Nolan is like still wants to toughen his kid to be like a Viltrumite, but deep down he really cares about him. Yeah, it's really good stuff. I just have problem from how it started. And that's the thing, because the people didn't. I just want people to realize. Do you know how big space is?
Yeah.
I was like, oh hi! I was literally looking at a supernova, and I spot this ship that's crashing at a supernova, and this is the race that's apparently really similar to my own DNA that I can make a baby with. I was like, oh, that was lucky.
Yeah, I mean, well, they do explain like Oliver. He is like obviously like a mix of the Thraxan and the Viltrumite DNA. So the Viltrumite DNA is like what makes him look like a humanish looking thing.
They also it's also what keeps him from it's also what keeps him it's also what keeps it's also what keeps him from aging like crazily fast. So
oh yeah, I understand. I was like the odds of you even seeing someone in space is really low.
This is an added thing from because in the comic he just flies to that planet straight up. He doesn't contemplate suicide in the like in a black hole like how they did it here. Though I like the imagery of it, especially because that man really wanted to kill himself.
I
do like what I like about it too is like with the Thraxans like heading into the ship. It's like. And he decides to save them and bring them back to the planet, and they're trying to praise him as a hero, and he doesn't want to view himself like that. But in a way, it's like a way to rekindle his purpose again, like being a superhero or like saving somebody's life, despite because it's not like absurd. I would say like somebody could very well travel across the space and like just end up towards the direction of a black hole. But I guess like Omni-Man is to save them, I guess.
Yeah. It's like really contrived timing. It's like even it's one of those things you just like okay, you just want the character moment. It's like I love the character moment, but the plot takes a hit for that.
Would you think of the actual Thraxan's way of life, but their life is so short that you have to let things go in order to grow, in order to change, because their lifespan is like a year. So basically Mark, it's kind of like Mark has two moms. So he's like his Debbie, who's been his mom since he's a child, but like he has all these like I guess you would say skeletons in his collar he can't let go. That it's like the Thraxan mother is like actually like kind of mothering him too. So
right. That's like I guess like one thing to set up that context as to why we're here. It's like a Thraxan goes on Earth and he pretends to be Seance Dog. They call him Seance Dog here because apparently they don't have the rights to say Science Dog like from the comic. Minor thing. And he goes in that form, but like Mark already knows like clearly that's not Science Dog because he's a cartoon character. So then he reveals to Thraxan his planet's under attack, and he needs his help. He defies Cecil's input that like you can't really trust that thing, but like Mark is like I have to save lives even if he's like overcompensating. Even if it's not his planet, he still needs to protect as many lives as he can just to repay the debt that his father put on him. So it's like you have things like that, and then he obviously tells Amber that he's going to be out. It might be for months to go and save lives. So yeah, that's when he goes to that planet. And yeah, that's where he meets Omni-Man. It was a surprise. Rather than telling him like, oh yeah, Omni-Man wants to see you on this planet, which obviously that was not going to work.
Yeah, I mean,
So yeah.
yeah. I think the only thing is like, do you know that the Fraxen can fly and shapeshift, or okay, at least the technology they have some technology that can do that. I was like, and that somehow never appeared again. I was like, oh, that's a one-off thing, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, even the comic was like that too. It's like the Thraxen only uses it that one time. But yeah, it wasn't super plot relevant because they are the whole point of their team of their race is like they're supposed to be ass when they go up against Viltrumites. So there's that. Which that brings us into that thing that Shaq was talking about. Wanted to talk about
the fight
attack, the fight.
Because
I really love this homage.
This is the first time we like also with Lucian, the Black Viltrumite. This is the first time we've seen another pure-blood Viltrumite like fight. So before this time, we only see Omni-Man and how he fights and how ruthless he is. So maybe you could think like, oh, Omni-Man is like, oh, he's just different, oh, he's crazy or something like that. But the other Viltrumites like are also ruthless too, and they're also vile too. Like they also do anything to win, anything to do damage, anything to kill. So it's like it's just built into like their race, it's built into their society, it's built into their culture. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Yeah.
Like even the girl you see, her little hair piece is a blade that can be used to kill people. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird that hair jewelry or like hair whatever would be used as a weapon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. One of my favorite things about this fight in particular, outside of this shot straight from the panel, was like because like one thing that his father is still like teaching him in this moment, and like when he does kill Vulcan, or he thinks he does, and then they go back to the town, and they see all the dead Thraxens out there. It's like then he holds Mark by the throat, and it's like, why am I feeling this way? Like why like these guys would only live for like a year. I know they were going to die, but like yet I still feel this way. And then Mark is like, you should have felt this way when you were back on Earth. Which obviously, Mark is going to keep referencing that. Yeah, he did look like Steve Harvey. Yeah, so I really like that part. And then the two Viltrumites come in, try to fight it out, and then the old woman, she's really beating his ass, Mark's ass, and Omni-Man has to come in, help him out, and it's like you have to stop thinking, don't act, don't think, act, because you need to go full power against Viltrumites, otherwise you will get killed. I mean, one of that explanations is just like,
it's also crazy how he knew that his son was holding back because the last time he seen him fight was when he beat his ass to a pulp. So how would you know that he could? You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of crazy that he knew like, oh, that's my son. I know he has better hands than that. You know, like I know, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The last time Omni-Man saw him, his head was in the concrete. He was held in front of a train.
That's crazy. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah. I'm just kind of iffy. It's like Mark can fight as Viltrumite now. It's like, he's that powerful now?
To be fair, these are like
he still loses in a way.
Yeah, he loses because he shows mercy. He could have killed her. To be fair, these are lower level Viltrumites. Like, and you're not gonna know this, but for instance, like Anissa, like the Viltrumites that have names that like are returning, they're really strong. Like Anissa, very strong. You're gonna learn who Thrag is. He's very strong. Like they're like levels. It's kind of like so Unity. Do you know that's why I compare it to Saiyans. You know Saiyans. Like Saiyans.
Yeah.
You know how they're like. You know like how Raditz was like strong or whatever, but like and what is it? Vegeta was like way stronger than him and Nappa. It's like that level. Like they're strong, but then they're also like and Goku destroyed Rat. Like Goku could like destroy Raditz, but like he's struggling with Vegeta. It's like kind of like that thing. So like certain Viltrumites, depending on how pure their blood is, are like stronger, and also how old they are, because they get stronger as they get older. So
yeah, I don't think that's made clear in this season.
It's not made clear in the season. It's not. It's like that. There are levels of Viltrumites. For example, when they're taking Omni-Man into prison, did you not hear what they said? They said like, you were a hero. I used to look up to you. I had your like he's like a legendary. He's like, so that shows you he's like a top tier. To be fair, so when he got his ass whooped by when Mark whooped his ass, or no when he whooped Mark's ass, my fault. Yeah. Using that knowledge, we can know that he's like a top class, or he's like the highest of high of Viltrumite soldiers, because he's like a hero. People had his autograph and his like toys and shit like that. Like he's like the superhero like of the Viltrumites, if that makes sense. Like he's like the great one, you know what I'm saying, or one of the great ones. So.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I'm just thinking. I was like, oh, you guys are struggling with the strongest one, and the other one can fight Mara. Mark can like fight her for a bit until he just shows mercy. I was like, really? Yeah, that's like okay. I think
it is still like restraining to his no kill rule, which Omni-Man has to come in to help him out. Which Omni-Man he does take care of them. I believe he kills both of them, but then as he tries to help Mark up, he gets blindsided by Lucan or Lucen, and he breaks his back, saying it's like you need to make sure. As a Viltrumite, you always have to make sure your opponent is dead before he dies. So,
come on, so he breaks his back. No diddy.
Okay. All right. No diddy. Yeah. So they get knocked out. That's how the episode ends. Oh well. I guess like there's some stuff happening on Earth as well. I guess like one thing was like what I found another interesting side story from the humans was like was Donald, where Debbie was shocked to see Donald back, because if you remember in season 1 he
died.
Yeah, Donald dies in that scene, and then we see him right back again. And then, he's back, and then Debbie's shocked, of course, which gets Donald to come to think about as to what was that about. And then every time he tries to bring it up to Cecil just doesn't think about it. So then, Donald goes up and he looks through the computers, and then he finds out that he died. So then what he tries to do is he tries to slit his wrist, but then, he was relieved to see blood was coming out, but then eventually he saw that the knife has bent, so that meant he was it was an LMD. He was a robot. And then that becomes more relevant in the next part. But yeah, this was part 1. And then there was no Invincible for like the next
3 months.
3 months, yeah.
It was like November. It was like December, like the second week of December to like the first week of March. So like there was none for January, none for February. Yeah.
Yeah. How did that wait feel for you?
That was bad. So guys, there was a rumor. I don't know if you saw that rumor on Twitter where it's all like the season is done already, but they're going to drop it in the new year because they don't want to compete with like Christmas and like the NBA and the NFL. So I thought it was dropping like January 6th. Because somebody's like, I don't know if you saw the thing, it was like somebody hacked their Amazon Fire Stick and they thought the episodes are ready to drop at this certain date and they just never did. I was expecting for those, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That it was, I think, to be fair, I think it was too long. I think the hype kind of died down. I think you can let it. If it came back in January, that would have been fine. I can understand. You don't want to compete with like Christmas and the sports and the New Year's and the ball drop. You don't want to compete with that stuff and Christmas movies and stuff like that. But I think the first week of January would have been fine. So
yeah, because I know for like I mean my main source of like reception came through Reddit. A lot of people were just disappointed with. A lot of people got disappointed with season 2, mainly because of the wait. It just felt like, and then obviously splitting up a season into 2 halves has its perks and stuff like that and detriments. But like on the other hand, it was more like when you go to the second half and you watch it, and then it doesn't really match that intensity of season 1. I guess is kind of like where people got disappointed with season 2. Now I binged all episodes in one day, so I was definitely not bored with what I was watching. I definitely had a great time with it. But yeah.
To be honest, I didn't watch it during release. I was like, I literally just wait all the episodes, and I was like, oh fuck, I finally have time. I will just watch the show. It's kind of like this. I was like, I didn't bother to watch season 2. I didn't watch Reddit. I was like, I didn't hear anything about the show aside from, hey, do you know that Ezra Miller got replaced? Something like this. Like, of course, Josh Keaton is voicing not Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are the only things I heard about it. It's like, oh, I thought there would be a lot more things to talk about because Invincible is coming out. I was like, no one really talks about it. Aside from those things.
I guess from, I mean, how is your Shaq, just like since we're talking about experience, like how was your Discord about Invincible?
So my Discord for the most part, because a lot of people in my Discord are like, they're like 18, 17, 19, 20, like they're around that age. And like they were on break. So they were wanted something to watch. Like this also doesn't make any sense. Because perspective wise, like January, December, like this is like when people are on like semester break for college or winter break for high schoolers. Why would you not have the show on now? It doesn't like Operation Bagel was speaking the truth. Shout out to Mr. Game & Watch. Like it didn't make any sense because when people are waiting for something to watch and they could just be on it, and because I remember it was called Drew had graduated and he was getting ready to move to his thing for his job, and he wasn't. He was like, why do they? He watched all the episodes like 1 to 4 in like a week, and he just didn't have anything else to watch. It was torture. It was because nothing else was out. What other shows came out in like the beginning of the year, like January? What other shows came out? I don't think there was a
Echo.
Was Gen V? I think Gen V.
Gen V was good. Gen V was good. good.
I think that was about it though.
Percy Jackson. Oh
the Percy Jackson show was a little. It was kind of boring. The Percy Jackson for me was a little boring.
I hated it. I never read the books, and I hated it. It was that bad.
We were definitely disappointed. We have a video on that on our channel. But yeah, everybody makes some great points. I would definitely understand like the wait for this. I mean, I do understand like, you know, if it can be difficult to, you know, obviously we had a long wait between season 1 and season 2. And then part of season 1 drops, then there's like a break, and then it drops out. And it's like, it's weird because like they say the show was done. So then I'm wondering what was the point of the break if the show was done. I mean, obviously I don't want to rush a product. I don't want to rush animation or like people of that stature. Like, you know, I respect the whole process. Like it takes time to make a show, but like if all 8 episodes were done, I don't really see why they couldn't just continue the binge. But then obviously like if you do factor in the holidays time, yeah, that's fair. But then January, as Shaq says, I think is a pretty good. I think that would be a pretty good time, unless Gen V took up the place. Then they didn't want to. I don't know. I feel like you could just move Gen V in that later.
I never even heard anything about Genfi aside from, hey, do you know Homelander is in the last episode? It's like, okay. Is there anything else happened? Oh, all right. One of the actors from Genfi died from a car crash.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
I will say though, Gen V is like, so I'm coming back on that. Gen V is a very good show. It's like My Hero Academia, like on crack. So
yeah. I do think it would probably be more digestible than The Boys in general, but oh yeah, Operation Bagel is a usual guest for us, and like we had a podcast about Avatar, so he was telling me about how season 3 used to have the break, because they split it up into 2 parts. I don't know, Shaq, if you ever remember that experience.
I don't think the break was that long.
It wasn't that long.
Because Avatar, I remember Avatar, it was the first part of season 3. Then there was a break. It was like, I think it was like, we got like March as a break. In April, we had the missions with Zuko. So we had the Zuko episodes. And then that last part was like a movie. I don't know if you remember, so on the last like 4 episodes were like a movie. It was like 90 minutes. So I thought it was good.
Yeah. I guess there was a little bit of wait time.
I mean, to be honest, I was like, it's not even like
a month is not that long. A month is not that long.
A month is not that bad though, yeah.
Especially when with Avatar season 3 has like 20-something episodes. So half of that is like more than 4.
That's true. Though to be fair, I guess like when you're 8 years old, a month feels like forever, but yeah. Semantics.
Yeah, I mean, I watched like do you remember Stranger Things season 4? They also split that season into like 2 parts.
Halves,
yeah, but the issue is some episodes are literally 2 hours long. I was like, of course they got split it. It's like, yeah, you need more time. It's like, build hype and stuff. And the thing is, like, everyone talks about season 4 of Stranger Things when it came out. It's like, oh my god, the show is finally good again. And I was like, I was literally sitting here. I was like, what? I didn't hear anything about Invincible season 2.
Now, to be fair, I did. Yeah. Now, to be fair, I do think. Oh, I was wrong. It was a couple months. I remember the movie was like towards the end of July. I think I did fuck up was I know that in our Discord, because they're big anime fans, Attack on Titan split their season 4 into 2 parts, and that kind of destroyed all the hype.
That's true. I
didn't see it, but that's what I heard. So
yeah, my brother watches Attack on Titan. He was saying that was really annoying. That split up. But yeah. I was just curious, because like you saw the show in real time, and we kind of watched it through a binge. So it's like, what was that like? Just getting that experience out for the channel.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
So the real time, I was a little bit more crazy. I love the show. So for those of you who don't know, I live on the East Coast. So the show goes live at Thursday at 3 a.m. on Amazon Prime. So I'd watch it at 3 a.m. Wake up, do whatever schoolwork or whatever work I had to do, and then rewatch it that night at like 8. So I saw episodes twice. I will say when the season came back, I was joyful, but I was really disappointed when I had nothing else to watch.
Yeah,
watching something every week because you get to see like the stuff happening like back to back. Like for instance, in episode 7, when Mark gets the phone call after he does the initial stuff, and it's Angstrom Levy, that's like peak waiting. You know what I'm saying? It builds so much as Angstrom Levy calls, and you know he's about to do something crazy, and you have to wait for next week for it to happen. So
no daddy.
So
like
Attack on Titan had multiple splits, not just 2. Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't hear anyone talk about the show anymore. Because I know that they kept the original ending of the comics, which everyone hates. apparently. I was like, oh, okay. I won't watch it, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm still like, my classic anime is still Full Metal Alchemist. So
Yeah, I mean, my classic anime are things no one will ever heard of. I mean, because I was in I was in Hong Kong. I was like, do you think they should stream like Dragon Ball every week? No.
after he does the assist, very poor choice of words. That's funny.
All right. After he does the consensual and this stuff.
Good
Yeah.
save. So we come back. This must come as a shock. Episode 5. So Mark stays and helps Thraxa rebuild. So yeah, as we mentioned, I guess we forgot to mention the Viltrumites. Krieg he talks to Mark and saying is like, you've proven yourself worthy of a Viltrumite. So what you're gonna do is you're going to go back to Earth and take the position of your father, as like the leader, and get it ready for our things and all that stuff. We're gonna send a Viltrumite to check on your progress. Otherwise, we would kill you if you don't comply to our demands. And then they take Omni-Man out, and before that, Omni-Man tells Mark to read his books as his last words. And then that's how that arc ends. It'll become relevant in a second.
Yeah, they kind of I think it was episode 7 when he's talking about read his books. Like they kind of like hint at why they're important because basically, I guess we're gonna skip a little bit. Basically, Mark said it's like these books are like it's like he's trying to tell me that these things actually exist, and this person in the book is Nolan. So these things that might actually exist did damage to Nolan, if that makes sense. So that's like a hint for you people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. I just gotta wait for how they pay off at the end. It's like, it's just a setup.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff, so yeah, Mark is taking up the he's taking up the lead to help Thraxa rebuild for 2 months, and then Nolan's wife, she's old now because again they die in a year, so she's getting old. She wants Mark to return to Earth with his brother because he won't be able to live there. Many generations will die by the time he's like even close to like an adult. So that's not like a life that she wants him to live. So yeah, they go back to Earth. So we also talked about Donald talking about his body, and then Cecil telling him that they've recovered his brain and put in a robotic endoskeleton. So one thing I appreciate for the show so in the comic, they only have Donald like talk about it. Like they do adapt the part where Rick is contemplating suicide, and then Donald has to talk him out of it by mentioning that he is also a robot. They mess with my body, and like I've died 39 times at least, and they've put me back together, and I have to live in this kind of life. That's like something we hear him talk about in the comic, but like in the show, you get to see his identity crisis. You get to see like his PTSD. You could see how he thinks about being a robot in a human skin, and like that's what I like about the show is like you get to see the step-by-step aspects of some of these experiences that we heard about in the comic, but this time we get to see it. So yeah,
I think it's also like what I like about what they did is it's kind of framed when we figure out that like Donald is kind of a clone. It's kind of framed like, oh, Cecil's a dirty man that's just trying to keep this dude alive to do his bidding. But it turns out that the reason he doesn't have his memories is because he himself said, I don't want my memories." Basically, so it basically just shows you how selfless Donald is. That Donald doesn't even want to really know because he knows he's like him dying is saving other people's lives, so he doesn't want to know about everything he's done. So I think because it kind of frames it that Cecil is doing fucked up shit, which he has done fucked up shit in the past. But it's like, no, it's Donald who's deciding that keep me out of the loop so I can continue to do what I'm doing and I won't be like have remorse for what I'm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it. Like,
that's what I definitely like. I definitely like how the show goes about like furthering. It does a lot to further the side characters in the show, in comparison to the material, which I always appreciate that. When it comes to adaptations, like especially when you have the advantage to use up the extra time to help flesh out things that are happening in the comic or in the book or anything like that, but like we don't get to really experience it because of our POV character. So yeah, that's something I definitely appreciate. So this is the episode where they learn that the Sequid invasion is on its way from Mars, and turns out. So this is that episode. Shapesmith has to. Well, he reveals he's a Martian, but everybody knew that because he was very bad at hiding that aspect. I guess we forgot to mention that Immortal and Dupli-kate are fucking. So yeah, that's happening.
Yeah,
it'll be important later.
I'm thinking about it. It's like, do you realize it's like, oh, when did Invincible get back to Earth? The day during the invasion, I was like, nice. Wow, timing, right? What luck.
I mean, that's kind of it's like a comic thing, really. It's like when you sneeze and there's a new danger coming up somewhere.
I was like, I was like, wow, imagine Invincible got back like a day afterwards. They're like, yeah, Earth's fucked.
I'm not sure because, like, sometimes these things just happen like either 2 days apart, months apart, stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to really pin down like exactly is it the same day, is it the same night, or is it some other time of the week or anything like that. Especially since our show doesn't really put like a calendar or anything like that.
It's weird because they literally said, "Oh, I just came back today. I will report it back tomorrow." And then it's like, no. And then Cecil was like, "Oh, Mars Mars invasion today." I was like, "Oh, yeah."
I think the whole thing the show is like time is like. I think the whole thing because we see this with the Adam Eve when it's like that there's very limited amount of time because even when Mark gets back to Earth and he tries to go back to college, it's like the semester is almost over and he's failing or some shit like that. So it's like, and if you know anything about a semester's like three and a quarter semesters, three and a quarter months. So it's like time is definitely passing. But I think because we're having it from the experience of Mark, and Mark is like half Viltrumite, it doesn't seem like that much time is passing. You know what I'm saying? Because it kind of goes back to what omni-man said in season 1. He's talking about like, why do you care all these people? It'll be 1,000 years. We'll still look the same, and they'll be dead. Stuff like that. So it's like, I think it's because we're from Mark's point of view, and he is becoming more and more Viltrumite like, which he doesn't like. It's like time is like, you know what I'm saying? Like time is like passing very fast around him. So
I think what Unity is saying is like he returns back from Thraxa with the kid, and then that same day Cecil sends a message that Mars is attacking. So it is kind of like difficult because the comics, this Martian attack is like a different time. So they're moving, which is something we explained before. It's like they do move some things from later in the comics to now, and some stuff from now is being moved to later seasons. So it's like So it's like that kind of thing. They pulled the Martian attack into the now time, where it's like, yeah, it's like, but it's also the life of a superhero. Like he's always busy. He's always got to fight something. So it's like it's hit or miss. Depends on how you view it, I guess. At least that's how I would view that.
To be honest. What sound is that?
My phone went off. My fault. Sorry.
That's fine. Okay.
Rex
Yes.
Rex has a conversation with Eve in her house, like talking about how, because she felt really down about like how that bridge accident happened and all this stuff. It was all her fault. And then Rex is saying like, even if you did something dumb, like they're having a full recovery, like you're still doing good, despite even if you feel down or anything like that. So it's like you need to get back out there. So then he gets her, she basically recruits her to go on this Mars invasion. And yeah, you got the whole team there. Kate, Dupli-Kate, Shrinking Ray, and Rex are staying back for any other dangers happening on the planet. So yeah, we got our heroes split up. The Guardians, they're going towards the ship. And then the Martians, the Martians kind of let them in, but because Black Simpson or Bulletproof, I think one of them kills one of the Sequids. They have a hive mind, so that means everybody knows where they are. So yeah, it turns out Russ Livingston, the astronaut that Shapesmith left behind, was infected by a Sequid, and he's like taking over the Martian ship, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
To be
now they
honest,
have their fight, basically.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting overwhelmed. Then the team
Yeah.
back on Earth, they're dealing with the Lizard League.
Now the Lizard League fight. So I didn't really like the Sequid fight because the Sequid fight kind of felt like people fighting off zombies. I didn't really. It was whatever, right?
Yeah.
But the Lizard League fight. This one we finally see what Rexplode can do. Because the other people in his team are kind of like chopless, like what is her Shrinking Ray gets eaten, Dupli-Kate gets smashed, but it's like Rexplode basically 2v1s. And then he ends up killing the dude after he gets shot in the head. They actually 3v1s. If I'm thinking about, he 3v1s.
Yeah, because they weren't really doing much.
Because he fights the girl, he kills the girl with the claws. He's fighting the swole dude that ate the thing, and like he bites his arm off and he charges his arm. And then
Komodo dragon, yeah.
The lizard guy, that the king or whatever, shoots him in the back of the head, and then Rexplode with his dying wish beats him to death with his like the bone of his arm or some shit like that. It was like insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the last time we see Rexplode, he's either making a joke or he's getting his ass whooped by a monster girl. So I don't personally, for me, I thought he was like a joke character.
No pause.
Yeah, I thought he was like a joke character. I didn't think he actually could fight. So I was very surprised when he actually he stood his ground. He's as the people would say so. He stood on business. And you know what standing on business is? You stand on business. So
he did stand on business. I'm not gonna lie. He got shot in the head. And he's like, no, actually no. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Rexplode has he's obviously like a mix of Gambit and I mean, he's also like a acrobatic like Daredevil in a way, without the Billy Club. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's definitely more valuable than Dupli-Kate. Well, I mean, Dupli-Kate was trying.
Yeah.
Shrinking Ray, completely useless. She barely talks. But yeah, they had her survive, but she's like paralyzed, which is interesting because like in the comic, Shrinking Ray dies from that being eaten. So I wonder what they're gonna do with that. We'll talk about dupli-kate later. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that side you had like risk, like people were like either they were either dying or getting injured or really severely bloodied up, basically. Whereas in the Sequid fight, there's not really that much danger. So, yeah, it's not that I mean, obviously, I mean, there is danger, sure. Like, yeah, we need to get the guy out of the Sequid grasp, otherwise he will attack Earth and all that. But like, in terms of a fight sequence, yeah, the Lizard League fight was way more entertaining.
Oh yeah,
in that sense.
And for me, I was literally just like, wow, you have like waves of them. It's like you can literally just form. I was literally looking at it, I was like, how many Sakuras do you guys have? Like 1,000, million? You can literally just most of them just like spin circles around. It's like no, literally just crash at them. It's like you literally won. If you just crash at them, the million of them just crash at them all at once, you won.
Well, granted, I guess like they got the team that has like impenetrable skin, kind of that stuff. But I mean, even then, it's like it is weird, like to make a perfect circle of everybody coming in one at a time when they're all like bulletproof or they're impenetrable skin in the first place anyway. So it's like I don't know what the point of that is. Or I don't know. I guess it's just easier to animate it that way. Because sometimes you have to think about it in that aspect. In terms of like, I guess this is just easier to animate it when it's one at a time versus.
It's weird because I say that because do you remember Matrix Revolution?
Yeah.
Like it's actually similar to that, but even that, at least that animation, they didn't do one at a time. They just attack like a tentacle monster.
Yeah. And Matrix. So that leads us to our post-credit scene. So I guess we didn't really mention too much about Alan's side in terms of like how he went back to the council, to the coalition, and talked about how Earth lost its Viltrumite, like overseeing that planet, and he talks about how they have a son, Mark, who is against the cause of the Viltrumites, and he is able to help aid them in this fight against them, and how So we also get to see his origin as well for Alan, and like how he was genetically bred to be the perfect soldier, as best as I could to fight against a Viltrumite, though he isn't as strong to do that. But after he was killed by Viltrumites, he was sent back to a medical bay, and so it turns out one of the guys, the leader of the coalition, is a Viltrumite himself, a rebel Viltrumite, and he took a gamble on Alan's life support by having it kill him, which would allow him to be reborn and much stronger than he was prior. And then, the way that it ends is that Thetis reveals that he is now strong enough to, fight a Viltrumite without being killed or injured as such. So, and then Thetis tells him to go and recruit Mark and help, ask him to join the cause.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good twist. I just have the one thing is like I don't know what they gotta address is like, are they gonna address like who's the spy inside this council? Was like they probably set up, yeah.
Shaq, what do you think about that reveal? In terms of, should we say that now, or
I think it's a whole thing for him to figure out. So
it's a future season thing.
I was like, that you guys are just gonna leave me hanging for it. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess that's all I mean, say.
Because the whole thing is like, so you're supposed to think it's Thetis,
yeah,
but Thetis was the first Viltrumite to like walk away. We figured that towards the end of the season. So
yeah, it's like, I mean, it's
now that it's not the big tall white guy with the beard. Like,
yeah, this too. It's like Eve and Rudy being infected for like 5 seconds, and then the second stuff is just.
When
that's in the next
when
episode.
Rudy threw up the fucking
Yeah.
When he threw up that shit, that was nasty, bro. Oh my god, he was in the shower. Oh, that was nasty.
Spy sucks.
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker.
But to be honest, this episode, like episode 3, 4, like episode 3 and 5, I think 6. It's like they only introduce like, okay, here's 2 other characters who talk. Other is like Alan's girlfriend or that general that he flies in and talks to him.
Yeah, this one right here. Yeah, the second stuff was pretty disappointing. In terms of,
I think it was unnecessary because I don't even. So the whole thing with the with enemies like sequids, they're basically like zombie. Like the whole thing is you get overwhelmed. So it's like the fight has to happen over time. Like in order for it to like for instance, that's what makes The Walking Dead like so good. It's cause like they fight, they get away, they fight, they get away, and it's like they never can get away. So it's like you get worn down. It's like a war of attrition with these type of, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, but that has to happen over multiple episodes. So that's why I would never think like this like in an action show with fights where people can throw energy and throw cars and punch planets and shit like that. Like this is just not hard to me. You know what I'm saying?
So Shaq is heading out at 8.
It'd be 2 hours at 8. So I got some stuff to do, but
yeah, but we might be able to finish by that time, or the Unity and I will finish up maybe around like another 20 minutes maybe.
Because
we'll see how this goes out.
Because we're at episode 5 and we do 6, 7, and
8. To be fair, we covered most of 8 in the first episode.
Yeah, we did.
I did do a lot of hints in there.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so episode 6, Rex survives the headshot. He kills the fuck out of King Lizard. Which was I mean, obviously now this was like a bit of a question, like, do you think the
So I'll talk about this. I'm not watching the game. I'm on stream, but the Cavs are in fact sledding out the Magic. So for those that do not know,
I am a Cavs fan.
Soham is a diehard Cavs fan. He's been a Cavs fan. He's from Cleveland. So So what you got to talk about your team? I'm not watching the game. I just looked at the ESPN. I think they're up I think it's like 30-18. So
yeah. We'll see. It's really the second round I'm worried about. But we'll see. Yeah. So I guess like one thing about Rex is like he gets shot in the back of the head, but he's like up and at him, which is like, to be fair, he is a superhero. That's one, and he does have a kind of superhuman durability. We do see that in season 1 and in season 2. So there's some of that, and then. Also, to be fair, like when he does get shot in the head, his personality like shifts. Like he's, I mean, everybody knows about the Phineas Gage, the lead pipe to the head. That was like in the 1840s. So you could definitely survive a head injury, but it does change his personality afterwards. So it's like, I guess Shaq, like Rex surviving a bullet to the head. What would you?
Well, I mean, so I know, so he already is mutated, so he's kind of like, how like the boys, like, so characters that have different powers, but they still kind of have super strength and super durability. Like for instance, what is it? A-Train has speed, but he still is he's stronger than normal people. So it's kind of like that because again, this is a side story, but Rexplode was like a super spy or some shit like that. So.
Yeah.
So surviving this headshot is fine. I think the whole thing with like his personality changing, he already was kind of changing because before he got shot in the head, he gave that like speech to Adam Eve, and Adam Eve thought he was just trying to fuck her. So, but he was actually sincere. So
it's That, to be honest, I never thought that
Rex
was
isn't my
Dave.
favorite character, no. But
Yeah.
he's okay with it.
To be honest, I agree because I was like, oh, the shot changed his personality. I was like, dude, I thought that is literally natural character development. Learning not to be an asshole. And
wait. So you agree with Michael Jeff? You say you don't like Rex at all?
No, I said he's not my favorite character, but like I still like him. I don't know what do you say?
I actually like him a lot more now. I'm not gonna lie, like even in the season,
yeah, I like him more in this season than
season one when he was like a joke douchebag. He was still I still thought like for what he was funny. He said some corny ass shit. I thought it was cool.
He reminds me of Sokka. So
yeah, he does remind me a little bit of Sokka. Unity, what do you think? What do you think of Rex? Unity, what you think of Rex?
To be honest, I don't remember much about him in season one. Aside from he dates Eve, they break up because he cheats on her, and
yeah,
it's like this. And then I like him a lot more in season two because he has an arc. He has an arc like stop being an asshole. Like how does it feel like being cheated? Something like this.
Yeah, I do think there are stronger characters in him, but I still like him. Yeah.
So there's also the scene where he gets humbled a lot in season one. You remember they're doing the training thing and he fights Monster Girl. And he thinks Monster Girl because she's a girl and she's a kid that she's like weak or some shit. But then she like smashes his face in, and that's when we first see Mark's true power because Mark has to stop her from killing him.
Yeah.
Right.
So he gets humbled a lot in season one.
Yeah. So so that kind of takes us up. The Guardians, they escape the Sequids. The Martians, they want to kill Shapesmith, which honestly might as well. I didn't really like Shapesmith at all, but like, I mean, I still get it. Like Mark needs to save him, but that's just a bias thing. Yeah. So they go out and they take him and Russ, the real Russ, bring him back home. They kind of start a little bit of an Adam Eve relationship, especially when she saw him, destroying all the Martian ships and all that stuff. So, planting the seeds of that. So, yeah, Oliver gets his name. So there's like this thing. Debbie was trying to get so Debbie wanted to take care of Oliver herself, but Cecil keeps bringing in like nannies to try and take care of him. But eventually she does comply to one of the nannies to work with them. Rick, he comes back to school, but he's still traumatized by the whole Reaniman thing by D.A. Sinclair in season one.
My fault. I gotta do something. My fault.
Yeah, I remember Shaq's dog.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, he's traumatized by that. Mark and Amber's relationship gets strained because Mark is working so much. I mean, I still really like that cafe scene. It's like it just feels like a first date, as if like we're meeting for the first time, and it's really shitty. But like, it really does go to show you that how much of that superhero life versus a normal life, and like she's tired of like lying to Mark, but like she doesn't want to. This is also the episode where they have Amber speak to Eve, and Mark speaks to Art, voiced by Mark Hamill.
Right.
Where they're talking about Art is voiced by Mark Hamill. They're just talking about like how the that relationship, like how they don't really know what to do. It's like I feel guilty. Like if I tell him to stop doing this, and it's like I'm telling him to stop saving lives, and that's like a shitty thing to say. Whereas like for Mark, it's like my mom, like my dad used to like leave our mom all the time, and all that, and it's like I feel like I'm doing the same thing to her, and she doesn't deserve that at all. But it's like then they're both like, why are you talking to me when you should be with them, with the free time that you have? So it's a good way to edit the conversation between the two characters. So in this moment, then we learn that Art, he tells him about the books. So because earlier Debbie got rid of the books, but yeah, Art had a spare collection himself. To be fair, Art was his best friend on Earth, so it would make sense for him to have a copy.
Not copy. What he said is, those are the versions that is not published because reasons, and they just let
they were unsuccessful, basically.
Yeah, that's why that's why they let him keep it. It's not, those are not copies. Like,
yeah, but I mean, Art was his friend though, so it's like it would make sense for Art to have one, and then his wife has one too. So it's like not the only versions of the book. Yeah, that's where he reads the book and he finds out that this is the way they can find weaknesses to the Viltrumites. Alan comes back to Earth, tells him about Thetis and the Coalition stand against Viltrum. I also really like the conversation where he tells Alan, like, I can't go back to you right now just to tell him, yeah, I want to join your cause, but let him know that, and once we are ready to start taking action against Viltrum, I will be there. Nice, cordial, and straight to the point. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, the other little stuff here is like Russ goes back home and his home is.
Sorry, I gotta leave. Sorry, but it's been good.
It's all right. It was good having you, Shaq.
Yeah, great. He's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Coalition, they stand against Viltrum. Russ, Shapesmith ruin his home, but then they do the alien thing where. No, wait, they do the Stranger Things thing where like he needs to spit something out. He spits into the sink and like another sequid is in his throat. And then like he gets repossessed by a sequid again. Yeah, and that's how that ends. And then the post-credit scene was Nolan gets interrogated by Krieg. Turns out he isn't dead because the Viltrumite rule is like you need the prisoner. They need to be at full strength for their execution. So yeah, he's still healing up from his back injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Angstrom, the little setup of, how he talks to another so Shaq said he has to get something repaired. He just came earlier than expected. It's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of hard. Yeah. It's like.
Yeah.
Look at. It's like. Yeah. Oh yeah. This is the episodes. Like, it's just mostly just say Lizard fight Aftermath and Mars fight Aftermath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next episode is the Death Girl.
Yeah. Yeah, we practically talked about everything here. I mean, so they have the Comic-Con scene at the beginning, which I really liked. I liked how they modified it because, like, in the Comic-Con in the book, like there is like a thing where there's a joke where if you put the same panel like 3-4 times in a row, like it's the same picture 3-4 times to make a dramatic pause and effect. And that's how they cut corners to save money on, animating something like to drawing something like that just by copy paste. So that was a joke that works for the comic. So this one does a joke where it's a TV animator that he's talking to, and he's talking about how do you cut corners on animation. Well, the easy thing to do is to move the lips off screen and focus on the eyes or like maybe on something small.
Oh yeah.
And that's how they cut corners, so they can just like keep talking as if like we're animating something, but it's really just the same screen again and again. So yeah, it's funny how they change it for the comic version to the TV version while using the TV version as an example. And then another funny example is like sometimes they just do like they draw the scene in a different pixelation, like as if it's a different kind of show, just to show a dramatic effect. And then they show a picture of Mark looking more anime like in that picture. So
Yeah.
it was pretty funny with how they used it. Oh, and
Yeah.
they also had a 13th Doctor cosplayer.
Oh yeah, I remember. It's like if season 1, you see some moments in season 1. Yeah, you cut corners. Like especially in the first episode, was like, wow, that's a lot of people not moving.
Yeah, that was the thing that I noticed in the Comic-Con scene is like, because I've been to a Comic-Con, it's like, but I mean, even if you haven't, it's like, oh my god, everybody's just standing still, like everybody's standing in like the same angle, the same position, or like they're turning back, but it's like nobody's moving in these scenes. So it's like it's kind of cutting corners in this scene too. So it's like it's pretty ironic. But I understand it's kind of difficult to animate 100 things moving at once. So it makes sense.
I wonder the budget of this show.
Yeah, budget for animation is not really my specialty in understanding, but yeah.
Yeah, I need to look at the budget. Is that budget?
Yeah.
What did they no? When I Google this, they give me the budget of the Michael Jackson album.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Another thing that they kind of set up with too here was like when Rex is in the hospital and everybody's going to see him. And Mark does try to talk to Rex about like how he's having girl troubles, and then he comes across Adam Eve and he can't really say anything to her. Like he's trying, like he's really trying to show like, yeah, I'm loyal to Amber and all that stuff, while not trying to go too in depth with anything with Adam, with Eve, but like that becomes more relevant down the line in future seasons. Yeah. So then Rex he gets out of the hospital to try and fight the octopus monster. Because he's trying to prove himself that he is capable of being a superhero and all that stuff. Though Invincible does come in, he helps fight the henchman while he lets Rex try to beat the monster. Then he opens up his wrist like Spider-Man, which is funny because like everybody was expecting the Spider-Man cameo at some point. We don't know where it was coming, so it's like. So it was funny in episode 7 when they do that. It's like, oh, is that the Spider-Man cameo? It was a funny joke in terms of expectations. Yeah, so that's that. And then what do you say? So Immortal, he takes a temporary leave. He was like on edge, like he was about to kill Alan because he was like really confused about the whole situation. Until Mark figured it out, and it got to the point where he realized that he's too dangerous right now because he's thinking too much. He's like has lost all control because of Dupli-Kate's death. Which honestly, another thing I really loved was the funeral, where he has a talk with Black Samson. Is like I've lived for thousands of years. Have so many wives. So many of them have died, yet this one hurts the most.
I mean.
The character moments are top tier or like very close to it.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah. And like Immortal is like your play on Vandal Savage. What if Vandal Savage was like Superman? So
that's a love. Hey, we just cut off his head over and over again. I was like, yeah, he comes back.
Yeah, and then he would explain to Black Samson later. It's like the reason why he liked Kate so much is because like he was able to, because she kind of has the understanding of dying so many times and coming back to life. So like Immortal is like the only guy who really knows that experience, and then same thing for her. So yeah, that was like that justification as to why they're in the relationship together. It's not fleshed out more, but the conversation about it makes it seem like a very good relationship, or at least like they're happy with each other.
Yeah,
So.
to be honest, those are just like this is the thing. I was like, I want to see a lot more about this. Like, oh, compare him to other relationships. Like, yeah, I think you need a few more episodes. It feels like they crammed a bit too much storylines this time.
Yeah, I do think because like that is a pretty good point because as I mentioned before, I feel like the first season was 12 issues, 12 out of 144 issues. Season 2 uses up to about 36, 37. So it's like that's about 24 comics issues for season 2 versus 12. So 12, 24.
Wow, that's
So one is
too.
using a lot more material to work with in season 2.
Why?
I'm not sure because I feel like it's because Angstrom Levy is a good villain to end a season, but they need to. But because like if they ended at 24, I don't think you get to Angstrom Levy at that point. So it's like I feel like they felt like they can't to have a satisfying ending to season 2. You need to end it with Angstrom Levy, but which
Yeah.
your take was different. But yeah, I mean, because like I think that's what it was though. Like 12 issues for season 1. That ends the entire Omni-Man arc, and then but 12 to 24 is like not really that. So
What is
yeah, it's like
24 about? What is the 24th issue about?
um, I would have to look up that specifically. Um,
Here's I think you can restructure some things to like be the ending. It's like maybe you can just put the final fight like the Mars fight to have more build up, and it's like the potential death of Cat Rex and Kate. There's like that fight has a lot of impact to people.
yeah,
Or you can just put
it's tough because from a season perspective, I mean, honestly, you could end it with the Viltrumites fight, but then you realize like how much like material you need to expand to get to that Viltrumite fight from episode 4. You know, like when I'm talking about like how Omni-Man gets his back broken, pause, and you know that whole finality to his character, and then sends Mark back home, and then the Thrax. Like then you can start season 3 on the Thraxan stuff. But then I feel like the downside though for that is like you set up Angstrom Levy in season 2, but then I don't expect to see him until season 3, which is also difficult mainly because like Angstrom Levy this amount of material is like comic accurate. So it's like I'm not really going to be expecting more out of him from this part of the story, especially when I expect more of Angstrom Levy in much later seasons. Now, after what happened in season 2, so that's
kind of
so there's pros and cons to shifting the plot points here and there.
yeah. The thing is, if you remember, they give more screen time for Donald. It's like, dude, you can give more screen time to like Kate, or like the shrinking Ray. It was like her death literally was like, oh, I was like, wait, you're on the team. I forgot about it.
Yeah, that's why I don't really understand why they had her survive.
Yeah, I was like, it's one of those things. Like, you sure you can't end it in 12 issues? I mean, you don't remember in season 1. There's a lot of threats is not being covered until like this season or the season after. I was like, is anyone gonna wonder? It's like, what happened to the lion head guy? I mean, he's gonna appear again in season 3.
Battle Beast will come back. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no one wonders that.
Yeah, it is tough, because like it's not like typical comics like where you can make any kind of story and like kind of fit it in your cinematic universe and stuff like that. Invincible does have like a set story of where it's going, and you just kind of need to figure out how to chop it up to make it digestible in season format. So that's what I mean. That's kind of like the only thing that I'd have to see. Because like, yeah, I mean, I could guess what season 3 is going to end with, but then it's like, what else are you going to be showing throughout that season is what we would have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's like, to be honest, they should. I would rather they spend more time with like Nolan and Mark. Was like, fuck, season 2 finale. Mark and Nolan fight together. I mean, they lost, but good cliffhanger.
Yeah, though, there's still the material to adhere to, because they will team up and fight together, much more down the line, but I can't spoil those. Yeah. So we also talked about Donald discovering that he died numerous times, and it was the original that ordered the memories to be erased. And then, one of my favorite scenes was talking Rick out of suicide by explaining his point of view. And one of my biggest benefits to it with the visual medium is that, the comic just had him explain this to Rick, and we didn't get to experience his mental grief or anything like that. Because, like, in the comic, Donald just already accepts that he's a robot. So it's like it's from that point of view. Whereas, like, in the show, you actually get to see him see that processing of how he gets the stage of acceptance that this is who he is and this is what he wanted from previous times how he died. So yeah, that's always like a good thing when you are able to take advantage of that visual medium to show over telling. Some other shows don't do a very good job on that aspect. So
yeah,
that's why I'm highlighting this so many times. Yeah. Mark, he's really trying to, with the relationship with Amber, but because Mark is not allowed to be happy, Anissa shows up, has her hand on Amber's throat, which is really tense. All that,
Yep.
And then Anissa, so she gives the demands like, you have to meet me up in the sky, otherwise I'll kill everybody here. And first off with the girl, and then Anissa has to. So basically, she's checking up on Mark if he's going to join the Viltrum Empire. If he's ready for Earth, has to do that. So Cecil is like overhearing the conversation, and she's saying, so Anissa's saying that we want to preserve humanity, but the reason why so many people die is because they're against us, like taking over. They're against us, like they're against the Viltrumites, like taking over. They try to resist, and that's why they all die, is because they're fighting back. So it's like, so Cecil's thing is like, so there's a monster attack happening somewhere. So it's like, so if you clearly care about people, then you should be fine with me going out there to save these people from this monster. So Anissa, she hears him out. So she says, she'll go and see what Mark does. So yeah, they go to fight the kaiju. Mark gets his ass beat, but Anissa just effortlessly. I'm really tired. Anissa,
she kicked his ass. I mean,
and then and then she saves the passengers
on the ship.
But even though this happened, Mark still refuses to be on her side, so that causes them to fight. And Cecil's like talking to Mark's ear. It's like, dude, just say it, man. Just say you'll listen to her demands, and then we can regroup and figure this out later. But Mark refuses to admit it, because like if he admits defeat, or he admits that he's willing to surrender his belief, it's like then he won't be able to forgive himself. So that's why, like, even when Anissa keeps saying like this is what you have to do, that's kind of why it gets to that conclusion which she steps on his neck and almost about to kill him, but then he's like, so you gotta so the good thing about Mark is like in the face of death, he's like he knows what to say, which makes that's like some of the badass things about him. Is like it's like, so I don't understand. Like, do you want me to live or do you want me to die? It's like, otherwise you're kind of confusing me right now. So which that gets Anissa to stop. Because like she's not supposed to kill him. So yeah, then she leaves. Yeah, the tension was really high in the scene. Even though I know what happened, but yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think this is the part that people actually talked about. It's like, hey, do you know that this character is here? It's like, oh, so I finally hear something about Invincible. It took you really a long while.
Yeah, you also got Chantal Van Santen voicing her, which is yeah, the discourse is going to be really nasty moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well.
But it is funny because Chantal she played the wife of a Superman dictator like character, and now
The boys.
now from The Boys, and now she's playing that Superman dictator character herself. So it's like that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Anissa failed. So she goes back to Krieg. Then it kind of has like, so that's the put. Oh, then this is also where Mark goes back to Amber, and then
they break up because
they break up, which is interesting, mainly because like, so they pulled a lot of, so this stuff doesn't actually happen at this point of the story in the comic. They actually pulled that stuff from later issues into now, which is what I find interesting. But yeah, I mean, season 1 did this too as well, so it is fair. But yeah, that gets them to break up, makes sense.
Yeah,
and all that. So, and I really like how it was handled too. It's like, it's like I don't know, like I understand what you're saying. I can't really. It's still hard to be a part of your world and all that stuff. And with the whole. So what are we gonna do? And it's like I don't know. Because there is like you really can't do anything. With this kind of threat level and how, I mean, they were having a strained relationship anyways because of the whole, he's always out and she always has to cover for him.
Yeah.
So it's just really difficult.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like the only thing. Yeah, it's really, it's like she can't do this anymore. Especially her life is just like, oh my god, I might actually die in this situation. She doesn't want to risk herself, so like
yeah, it is just like season 2 Amber is just like, it's so different from season 1 Amber. It's kind of like,
yeah, I really think they overcompensated a bit. It's like she's not even like has a sassy attitude. She's like, hello, I'm Amber, nice to meet you. Hey, do you want to be friends? Like, oh, that was
that's my only thing about Amber. It's like I like Amber, but it's like when I compare to season 1 Amber to this one, it's like it felt more like this isn't a response to what people said about season 1 Amber, and not because this is who she is or this is who she was meant to be. That's kind of my thing. I like season 2 Amber, yes, but it's like, but it's just like comes off the wrong way, mainly because like it's a compensation for season 1, and that's kind of my con with it at the end. But it's like, but I don't hate it. It's just like it's very obvious. I wish there were less. I wish there were more subtle about it, in my opinion.
And to be honest, everyone's trying to get not Amber, I think Mark and Eve together. Like after season 1, they're literally just begging Amber to just go away.
Yeah. Which, honestly, one of my hot takes was like, I thought they did Mark and Amber like too well, to the point where it's like going to Eve is kind of disappointing right now. Now, the relationship will get better in the meantime, but like there is this one aspect from episode 8, in terms of how they streamline the Eve and Mark relationship. Yes, it is comic accurate that future Eve tells Mark that she loves him, and you need to tell her that, or tell her something, because otherwise it would be really bad. Because Mark never told his feelings to Adam Eve, and it's like I'm not a big fan of that, because Mark has the riz to talk to Adam Eve himself. I really don't know why you need to have like a future version of Adam Eve tell
Yeah,
Mark about. It's like that happened in the comic too, and I wasn't a fan of that either. It's like I don't know. It just comes off as if like Mark doesn't have riz.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's like, dude, you literally said that to Amber. It's like, why are you so afraid to just open up yourself with Eve, who's
Yeah.
literally a really good friend of you?
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing. It's like I do feel like some of the overcompensation with Mark and Amber this time around for season 2, it's like it just kind of comes off as like now like the Eve relationship, it kind of has like a
focus.
It lost its focus to the point where it's like now it's like a cop out almost, because the way it happens now in this scene where like they broke up, and then the next episode you have future Eve tell him that she wants to be with Mark. So it's like one after the other in this sequence of events. So it's like, oh, you lost a girlfriend. Oh, it looks like you're getting a new one. Which thankfully they don't put the relationship at the end of episode 8, because that would be really stupid. Because obviously, like when Mark is thinking about talking to Eve about future Eve, but he really doesn't want to go to that right now. But Eve is like respectful enough to like, you don't have to tell me anything you don't want to tell me right now.
Yeah, it's like do you realize that Eve in this season is just in side plots? Just like she's in her own side plots. She didn't really interfere with anything like related to Mark. If you really think about it.
Yeah, that is one of my bigger things. Is like I've heard other people say too. It's like if you compare Adam Eve from the special that Shaq was talking about versus now, it's like there are like her power sets are just like way cooler in the special, and like she does not do anything as cool for this season 2, which makes sense because like she was a protagonist character in that special. Here she's just not going to have as much screen time because it's an Invincible show. I get that, but like on the other hand, it's like I guess I could have prioritized their time better with Adam Eve, but like at the same time,
was like that's why
it is like accurate to the comic.
I have an idea. Like, don't do 24 issues. Just do 12, and you have more time for Adam Eve. That's all you need to do. I was like, what? That's 24 issues, and you add new stuff. You don't have time, and you pull stuff from the other comics.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. Because again, it's like we don't hate this season. Just to keep it clear for audiences that listen, they could have structured it better in that aspect to make it at least more digestible. Because season 1 is very digestible with what it has to do, but then again, it's like 12 issues of comics across 8 episodes, so it's like that's much easier to digest the story. So yeah, it's tough to really.
I mean, imagine you're just like, okay, I'm gonna do 144 issues in this season, in one season, and I was like, but it's comic accurate. It's like, what? You don't have to rush off all the comics. It's like, what the fuck? Just split it up. I was like, my complaint was like, this is exactly the complaint. I was like, oh wait, yeah, okay, you don't have to rush it.
Yeah. Like so the Eve stuff is like it's still like reasonably like how they go about it is still like correct.
It's just they don't have any impact to Mark.
It's like, yeah, it's just like, but yeah, moving the breakup, moving Anissa first, because like Anissa is a thing that comes out later in the comics. It isn't even in the top first 36 issues. It's from a future comic issue. So yeah, they pulled her up to make her here, which I understand why they did that.
Yeah, so they can have like
to really emphasize the Viltrumite empire. Plus,
and
she will be a future villain for season 3. It
also
makes sense.
they need a reason to get rid of Amber as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah. Which is like, yeah, the overcompensation just kind of like puts it down on that aspect as well. But like, yeah, I won't have a problem with the Adam Eve relationship once it becomes like a real relationship and they do actual things together. Because yeah, they're great together. It's just that for the show, in terms of how they chose to move the breakup happening first, and then they did the Adam Eve tells that she loves Mark. It's like that kind of like changes the dynamic of all of those characters when they do that. So it's like, I don't know. It depends on how they go about it in future seasons. I just think it does a little bit of a disservice to Adam Eve herself. I mean, I've seen that meme. It's like, what do you call this genre of Jean Grey, Adam Eve, and Gwen Tennyson? Like a bunch of redhead powerful people who are super powerful, but the plot chooses not to make them powerful because of the plot. So it's like, yeah, Adam Eve is kind of like that.
I mean, the only saving grace is like Adam Eve didn't change people, so you just have to assume that she can't do it to living beings, or at least humans.
Yeah, like she changes the molecular structures of things and all that.
Yeah, because let's be real, if she can change that, it's like you can literally solo the entire Viltrumite Empire.
Yeah, Adam Eve is super powerful. Super powerful. Yeah, and then speaking of Vanessa, the post credit scene, Alan is flying back. So Alan had this conversation with Mark about like how it's possible that Omni-Man might be in a prison. I heard there's like a prison out in space somewhere, but like that's like a rumor. I don't know if that's true or not. So he says he'll go out and try to see what happened. See if he could see what happened to Omni-Man, basically. Then comes across the Viltrumite ship, and Anissa fights Alan. So the first thing we notice is that when Anissa punches Alan, he can take that punch and it's not hurting him at all, or very little. And then so he does a bamboozle where she kicks him and then pretends he's knocked out so that she can take him to the prison, which Alan is pretending. So that's where he goes into the ship, and he does find Omni-Man, puts up a telepathic communication between the two of them, and that's how those two start to interact with each other. And yeah, that's how this episode ends. We talked a lot about episode 8.
Yeah, it's like because
I thought she was stronger.
To be honest, yeah, we can just skip a lot of them at this point.
Yeah, Mark has returned home to Angstrom. And then Angstrom, he's holding Debbie and Oliver at hostages. So every time Mark tries to retaliate, he sends him to another portal, sends him to the discount Marvel universe. We also see him talk to Batman.
Dinosaurs. I don't like the dinosaur ones because it's kind of weird. Because I was like, "Oh fuck, they're attacking you. What are you gonna do?" I was like, "Just fly in the air, just fly up in the sky."
I think he was. To be fair, I think like the whole concept of it's like it's goofy dinosaurs talking about let's eat the sapien. No, we need to share. It's just funny.
I was like, hey, fly. You can fly, right? It's like, yeah.
He must have invisible wings.
Yeah, it's a funny
concept. It was funny.
To be honest, I just don't think you can still have him fly up in the air, and the dinosaurs like wonder what the fuck is that? out of his POV. Like and of course the thing I like about it is like you can get a sense that Mark is trapped in certain places or so many times he just lost his patience. I was like, please get me out of it. I was like, yeah. Of course I'm not. Yeah. Of course there's like Angstrom just. Yeah, I'm not sure that Mark can just dodge so many bullets flying at him. At one point, so I was like,
Yeah, and then Debbie hits Angstrom in the head with a lamp. Then that causes him to break her arm. And then when Mark comes back from a portal, he sees that the arm is broken. He gets really pissed. That's when they go fight across the multiverse. Which Angstrom says, like, it's like, I've been trying to soften you up so that I can beat you by yourself. I also got myself enhanced by those doctors to make him stronger, to take a punch and all that stuff. And they end up in the desert universe where Mark gets back to his upper hand. He's enraged to this point where he beats the shit out of Angstrom, saying how he's been through a lot. He doesn't have the patience to deal with someone like Angstrom, people threatening his family and all that stuff, which caused him to punch and punch and punch to the point where he beats Angstrom to a pulp and gets you to that. I thought you were stronger.
It's like I like the Mark stuff. I was like Mark stuff is just that's natural. Angstrom is just like oh fuck. They might actually try something. It's like maybe he will suppress his other dimensional thoughts and just let his good side come to him. That's what I expected him. And no, they did nothing. They're just like, I'm evil. Mark just kills him. I was like, oh, that's it. That was lame.
So it's like, again, it's like Angstrom does return, which we've been kind of alluding to a lot.
To be honest, probably don't do this in the season 2 finale. Just saying.
I think it does make sense for a season 2 finale. I just feel like they could have done a little bit more in that aspect with Angstrom.
Yeah, instead of just post credits.
The thing is, like, a lot of Angstrom's character arc happens after this fight scene, which it's kind of tough because this fight scene is a good place to end a season, but with the material you have with Angstrom from that point, like from season 2 starting to this is like all you have before this death, quote unquote. And then you get much more characterization of Angstrom after this moment. So it's like it makes sense where to end the season. It's just like, I guess just from a cinematic perspective, though, I could understand it being disappointing, especially since Omni-Man had a complete arc, whereas like Angstrom, you have more coming soon. Where Omni-Man has more coming soon as well, but like, but we had this conversation.
It's like Angstrom motivation here is like, oh, I'm insane. I was like, thanks. Like, can we just have I was literally just wondering, can we just have the Nolan and Mark team up as a season 2 finale instead of this?
Yeah, well, he's in prison, so can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, just pull half the season 2 tier. It's like, 24 issues. Like, how to end 12 issues? The first time Nolan and Mark team up together. I mean, that's a good place to end it. Like you got an epic fight at the end to fight other future mites that you just tease. You only got teased in the first season.
I guess so. Yeah, my main thing about that one is like more. You do need to move some of the stuff from this part 2, but you can't. You don't need the Anissa thing because the Anissa thing happened because of what happened in episode 4. That's set up from there. So it's like if you want to move the Viltrumite fight, you are going to have to move some of the future plot lines from episode 5, 6, 7, 8, so that those don't happen, or you need to pick events that make sense earlier that doesn't affect. Like I guess like you could do the Sequid attack, the Mars attack prior to going to Thraxa, if that's what you want the finale to be.
To be honest, the Mars attack thing is just like, it's just literally the writers like, fuck, how do I get rid of these heroes so that Rex, Shrinking Ray, and Kate almost get killed?
Yeah, because it's tough because this does happen in the comic as well. Like they are split up, and that's exactly how they all die, or quote unquote die. So it's like that, but I think part of your thing is coming off of like he just came back from Thraxa, and now the Martian attack is happening on the same time frame. So it's like if you move it to a different point, you can still separate your teams, because really the whole point of them being separated is because these heroes have invulnerable skin where the Sequid cannot pierce their skin and take control of their body, whereas these characters don't have that protective skin thing, so they have to stay on Earth so that they don't get brainwashed. So it makes sense why they're separated in that aspect, but I do think like some of it just comes down to like, well, these characters are the invulnerable ones, and these are the characters that are not. So you kind of have to make them do separate missions in that point of view. But yeah, if you were to move that plot around to a different part in episode, in like an earlier episode before the Viltrumite attack, there's a way to do it. Yeah, but I will say though that from issue 36, from where I've stopped, the whole Martian thing hasn't even happened at this point. From that point in the comic, it is a later plot line that is brought into the now timeline. So
wow, they just have to rush that. They just have to rush that for some reason.
Yeah, because I do think some of it comes down to like the side characters. Some of them do get a lot of development in later issues, like as Shaq was saying. But some of the downside was like, it might not be enough material for now, like currently right now. So it's like, so we need to bring some stuff from future comics into now so that we can flesh those characters out now, and then we could just do all that other stuff later. So yeah, I think it comes down to compensating for other characters to have more material to work with, because like these are story arcs that are happening. The whole Immortal existential crisis with Duplicate's death, and like how that affects him. Like that's stuff that happens, but that's stuff that happens in later issues. But it's brought into now in season 2 so that we can like talk about it. Like he had some characterization for the season, so.
I mean, to be honest, that's all. I mean, yeah, but they also need like plot devices and move the plot forward. It's like, hey, do you remember that Martian guy? I was like, what's his character? He's dumb. He wants to stay on Earth because he wants adventure. Oh, okay. What do you do with him afterwards? Oh, he reveals information of Mars. Does he have a payoff? Oh no. Great writing.
Yeah, but like some of that is like there will be in like other seasons. It's just like not right now. Which it's kind of like the thing about in terms of season 2, it's like not everything is going to be paid off, because I know the material that's coming up from future, like that future seasons will work with, especially since like season 2 definitely has shown me that like, I mean, you talked about how like The Boys season 2 definitely is a massive drop off compared to season 1. Honestly, but like season two just started going like off book in terms of like material, even though the show is not really accurate to The Boys comic anyway, which is kind of a good thing, really. Whereas like Invincible, it's like it's very clear that they are to the comic, and you still really like season 2. For
just like, but
yeah, the material isn't really the problem. It's more like how they go about showing that material, I guess is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like after I finished the season, I was like, I loved it, and then the more I think about, it, it's like there's some disappointments I really think about. It's like, oh, they should do more of this. I was like, this should have more development.
I do feel like some of the benefit might come down to like once the show is over, and then you go binge through like the entire show, you might not have that. Like it might get better on a rewatch, like after future seasons come out, and then you watch through season 2 from knowing the future context. It could be something like that, but I don't know. That's like wishful thinking as of right now.
Yeah,
but yeah,
you don't know.
There are some instances where like the season is not very good, but like if I rewatched again, it's like it's not that bad. Like honestly, like I feel that way about Daredevil season 2.
I mean,
it is disappointing in that concept, but if you watch it like straight up from season 1 to 3, 2 is really not that bad in the long run.
Oh yeah, I think there's some. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some shows that like I rewatch it's like, oh, that's better than I remember. Of course, as like for now, it's like, oh, okay, I can see a lot of setups. You better pay them off well in the future.
Yeah,
it's like this is
sense.
a lot. Yeah, it's also especially because it's like Armstrong is just like it's like so obvious. Like Armstrong just didn't have much at the end. It's like they have to rush a lot of things to like, oh, he's insane because because brain they stuffed the brain in him, and other universes have evil Mark. Yeah. That we gotta do this. I was like,
that pretty much is our season, because we talked a lot about other stuff in episode 8 early in the podcast. We also talked about how the future Guardians, they send Mark back to this dimension to his time because so that's like another thing. It's like it is pretty convenient that there is a future timeline that like knows where Mark is, and they know how to send him back home and all this stuff. Which, to be fair, that's kind of stuff that will be explained in future seasons. And it is like it works in the laws of a bootstrap paradox in terms of like everything is in a closed loop. So yeah, that kind of explanation doesn't happen until later. So you're just gonna have to accept that for right now. We talked about Adam Eve talking to Mark about the relationship. I talked about my pros and cons with it.
This season gave me the implication that Amber is not gonna come back.
Yeah, she'll come back, but she'll just not be as relevant moving forward.
Yeah, I mean that's like Mark drop out of college.
Yeah. While all this happens, yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, that makes the like the precedent stuff. It's like that's my problem with episode 7 as well. It's like I say episode 7 and episode 6. I don't remember. So basically, it's like, oh fuck, we gotta meet the principal. What did I say? President. The principal. And who is the principal? The principal of my high school.
Yeah, that happened in the comic too.
I was like,
he retires being a principal and becomes the dean of this university.
I was like, did you watch Boy Meets World for some reason? I mean, yeah, that's a good show, but
this is from 2003. To be fair, the comic.
But even that, it's like your changing teacher is more believable than a principal. It's like, oh, okay. And trust me, I don't think any university would just like, yeah, you did something naughty. Let's show you to the principal. Like, no. They'll show you to some counselor first.
Yeah, well, with Mark, it was more like because the thing is like he knows Mark and knows what happened to his dad, quote unquote.
Yeah,
so I guess it's like he has like the pull to like let me be the guy to make this conversation so that so I can see it from that point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair. But yeah, that's just a contrivance. But to be honest, that just means nothing at the end because Mark drops out of college anyways.
Yeah. We also talked about the two archaeologists who are uncovering the tomb of Kahor. Kahor is a original character. He's not in the Invincible comics at all. There was a reference to him in episode 4 of season 1 or episode 5, but then never returned. Now they have a whole scene dedicated to finding his tomb, so I guess he's going to be important now. So
wait, this entire scene it's like brand new.
yeah, the archaeologists were not in the comics. The Kahor is not from the comics. So those
That's weird.
archaeologists are voiced by Chloe Bennett and Ella Purnell.
Yeah, those are the casting rumors. Like
I'm interested as to why they're going to go about it, because like they have plenty of material to work with. So I guess I want to make a OC character for the show, which there's nothing wrong with that per se. It's just, there's always some pros and cons to OC characters.
To be fair, you can just make some OC villains and just like, hey, they're just gotta be one off. Okay? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Kahor is getting a scene in season 2, as if like it's going to be like a big threat moving forward or anything like that. Which, to be fair, they could do that and be completely silly with it. He was kind of shit. We'll have to wait and see. Alan. So then this ends with the moment where Alan and Nolan, they have the conversation. Nolan is getting strong enough so that they can execute him soon, properly with his strength. Alan is like, we should bust out of here. You should join our cause with the coalition. I talked to Mark, and Mark told me about you. And, if he believes in you, then I believe in you as well. And then Nolan, he's done with the Veltrum Empire, and he's ready to accept his fate in dying. But the one last thing he had to mention is that he thinks he misses his wife. And that's how it ends.
Yeah, I mean, good scene for Nolan. It's a good character development.
Yeah. And that was Invincible Season 2. So we kind of put our summary thoughts throughout this video for this season. I guess if you want to make one last summary for this this show.
Yeah,
as your thoughts, summary thoughts.
I need to think about it because, like, I don't know. It just, for me, it just like, well, season 1 is certainly better than this season because Nolan is just really that good. There's just no way to go around it. It's like he's such a complex character. Just like, I mean, he's evil Superman, but it's not like he's like evil because he's raised in this culture, and Earth is softening him with his relationship with Mark, and he's struggling between them. It's like his payoff at the end is just that good. And and Angstrom is just like, when you compare Angstrom to Nolan, it's like that's a really big downgrade as a serial villain, a season villain. But like, there's a lot of good scenes in Invincible season 2, like the character stuff of Mark. It's like how it deals with the aftermath of season 1.
Right.
I mean, well, it's like, and then there's other characters like Rex. Rex got some good stuff. Eve side plot. I mean, it doesn't interfere with the main plot, but it's like what she got is also good. And
do you think any character? Do you think any character like regressed?
Yeah. Oh no, I just don't think we talk enough about Dabby. I mean, Dabby dealing for grief, it's also really good, but at the same time, it's like I just think she also kind of rushed a bit in the season. I was like, because how do I say it? Because apparently she's better. Like, she doesn't have a mental breakdown after like one conversation with with her neighbor or something. No, with the partner, with her housing partners.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
So the thing is, like, I under talked about Debbie. Um, she does have a lot though, like in terms of like obviously with her conversations with I think one of my favorite aspects in terms of visual storytelling is like how the cabinet is just won't it won't close properly. Represents like that whole aspect of like how, like, even though the house is fixed, it's not really fixed. That kind of sense. Or like how she kept trying to close the mailbox, but it just won't close at anything. So it's like it's really showing you like how much of an empty void um, Deborah has with the whole thing with Nolan and everything that's going on with her, trying to act like everything is fine when it's not. Um, I think
yeah,
it does a really good job with really emphasizing as to like where her grief is coming from, which obviously is fair. She's been living a lie for 20 years. Um, and then obviously when Oliver comes in, it's like, damn, it's like he just moved on, had another kid with another woman, and and that was that. Like as if I didn't matter. Yeah, everything goes to a downward spiral with her. Now there are some things where it's like she does do better emotionally because like there are like some time skips here and there, like the 2 month time skip, the 1 month time skip, and stuff like that. So there are moments where she does better on an emotional standpoint here and there. And then obviously like when her real estate partner uh asked her to go on a date and she says yes. Um but yeah, it's like yeah, Debbie does a lot in this season that I do appreciate. Um
yeah. I mean, I like her a lot more in the first half than the second half because like it's like I don't know. I keep thinking like you just kind of dropped a bit. It's like the grief parts. It's
yeah,
not like
I will only say that between part 1 and part 2 is like it's a 2 month gap for her. So there is like some of that leeway in terms of like how her characterization will be a little bit different 2 months later than she is 2 months ago. If that makes sense.
yeah.
But yeah, that's what I definitely like. I definitely like this. This season does really well with characterization. That's definitely its strongest point. Um, there isn't really that much action, but to be fair, I'm not really an action guy. Uh, well, I mean, I like cool action. I have no problem with cool action at all. Um, but it's like that's just my general thing. Is like I I mean, again, I binged all 8 episodes in one day, so clearly I was engaged with or without action being so heavily prominent. Prominent. Um, but yeah, it's just the characterizations of everybody for the most part. Really, my weakest character is Shapesmith, but who cares about Shapesmith?
Yeah, it's like,
Um,
but to be honest, it won't happen if they just don't move the plot right here. It's like you can just build him up afterwards.
yeah,
It
yeah,
it's kind of this.
yeah. So that's Invincible season 2. So Unity, say goodbye to the people.
Yeah. So that's the end of the stream. So still so happy to see your friend who's left the stream, but well, maybe we'll see again.
Yeah. I apologize for that. Sometimes Shaq does that, but we understand. I think Operation gives like to be fair, Oliver did give Debbie a bit of a new purpose after that initial shock.
I guess so. It's like I only watch it once, so that's it.
Yeah. You can subscribe to Unity Review and Analysis. His channel link is in the description down below. My friend Shaq from Trikage, he had to step out, but he did text me, thanks for having him on here, which yeah, we definitely appreciate. you on the channel. Hope to see you again. We're definitely going to talk about at least X-Men 97 in June. So those of you that are fans of the Trikage channel, that's something you can look forward to. Yeah, you can subscribe to Trikage. Their channel is on the link is also in the description down below. You can also subscribe to Red Devil Reviews and Analysis. I talk a lot about movies, comics, TV shows, and video games, and all that will be in the description down below. And then one last thing is to also subscribe to another Reviews Corp podcast where we archive these videos on that channel the next day. So anything you've heard today, it'll be on that channel tomorrow. Also, the Spotify link, another Reviews Corp podcast, will also have these videos online that you can listen to. That will all be in the description down below. Thank you, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
See ya. Goodbye.